Hi, welcome to Nollywood Film Club. I'm Mr. C, a Veruca critic. I hope you're doing well. All right, so first off, apologies for last week's upload. It seemed like I did not upload last week's um episode properly. It seems like I just uploaded the space as it were with all the long pauses. So now some of you get to appreciate some of the work that goes in pre-editing. It's not that much, to be honest. But some work is done. Um, and you, some of you missed my beautiful intro, my long, not rambling intros. That you guys love so much. The other thing worth pointing out, like this is a long, obviously, the what we're going to be talking about today is long. It's a new Netflix original, but it is fun. It's a fun conversation. Please do use the timestamps if you need to. It's always there for you. So don't, you can, just in case you want to revisit or do it in parts, it's there for you. Um, this is the penultimate episode. So for the spaces before we go on the Christmas break. But you guys on here, you'll still be getting the podcast. Please do rate and review us where you can. We do appreciate that. Still, the offer is still on. If you do a review, I will read it on here. No matter how, no matter what it is. Anyway, I do hope you enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing Blood Vessel. Welcome to Nollywood Film Club. We do discuss Nollywood movies every Sunday, 6 p.m. Watt. Um, this Sunday, we are going to be discussing Blood Vessel. We will discuss the things we like, the good. We'll discuss things we don't like, the bad. We'll do pushbacks if we have pushbacks. We'll do pushbacks if we have pushbacks, and then we'll have a summary. All right. Okay. All right. So we will start with what will, by the way, I was doing the Nolly data for this, and you know what, I shouldn't poison the water. Let's just start with the things that we liked. All right. I think first was Chumeke. Chumeke, do you want to tell us some of the things that you liked about Blood Vessel?
Who was first? That's interesting. Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good evening. What I liked about the film, I loved everything about the visuals, the lighting, the blocking, the locations. Oh my goodness, the locations! Like the uh, the locations for this film were just gorgeous. It was very interesting. It was very beautiful. It was a very beautiful looking picture. I love the performances as well. There were a lot of standout performances. I really love the performances. Like they really put in the effort into it, and I just love the sheer scale of the film. Like the audacity to even take upon something like this. It's very inspiring. I love the amount of effort and organization that went into making the film. It also gave us a lot of memorable characters that I really liked. They were developed enough for us to.
Is it just me? Have we lost Chumeke?
I lost him. Oh, he's back.
Oh,
Okay.
what was the last thing you guys heard, please?
Something location.
There we go. Thanks.
Are you serious? That was a long time ago.
Heard development of the characters.
Yeah, that's where he was, the development of characters.
Okay, yeah, okay, all right. That wasn't too far off. Oh yeah, so it gave us really memorable characters. Oh, I was really heartbroken to hear about Sylvester Cannon's passing. He plays Tekena, but in a sentimental way, it felt really sweet that his character lived on. I don't know. I really liked that. Like that really felt nice. I don't know. There was that, and it was very shocking for them to decide to kill off Oyin. But it took some courage, so I have to like add that as a positive. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It was a really it was I just love the scale of the whole thing. Like it was a brilliant production. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jerike. Shout out to the skill and ambition. And liked some of the locations. I think he said. All right. I think next was China.
I think I was next, but I'll take the next after this one.
Okay. All right. Elizabeth, do you want to tell us the things you liked?
Okay, so first let me say that Play Network, is that their name? They outdid themselves with this. And not just because of scale. I mean, they sort of like overdo scale sometimes. So what are the things I really like? I like the story first. I like the idea of stowaways for so many reasons, and not just because of other movies that have similar story plot line. I like the idea. Um, I like I like the lighting. Moses, that's his name. I'm not always his fan. For the last movie of his that I watched, I didn't complete it. But this one, it did something here. I like whatever it is I was doing with lighting here. That scene where they were escaping from the soldiers and they were walking towards their hiding. The whole silhouette thing going on, I liked it. I liked some of the cinematography. I like the sunsets against the ship, even though the ship sometimes wasn't moving. But yes, I really do I like that a lot. Every time it comes up, any form of it, and it wasn't the same steel they were using, right? It was like different steel, so I really like that. But yeah, every shot of sunsets, I like that. There's something about the characters here. Almost all the characters. Um, Starting with Bimbo Manuel's character, I thought it was unhinged in a very great way. And the way it was written, the way his character was written, everything he did, even though you think it's wrong, you can feel the emotion. Like you can understand the emotion behind it. There was something the storyteller, whoever wrote the story, did. And I think it's with using the idea of myth, right? Weaving it into myth and destiny, right? Weaving it into the decisions that these characters would take, and it's not like they are unaware of these things happening. And we'll talk about maybe it worked on it, but I like the idea. Like when they use the two bad omen showing up at first with the snake one, I really I have another opinion, but we'll talk about that later. But I like that it showed up. And then what a woman came later. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that coming later. It didn't take away from the film, but I like the symbolism of when her character, when his character was eventually killed, and they threw her back into the water, right? Because that's where she came from. I like the way they tied that. I mean, if she had not fallen in love, she wouldn't go back. She wouldn't have gone back to the water. Um, the actors, the new faces, I think all of them did so well with what they were given. I've been seeing it, most of them before, so I think they did well. Funny enough, me and JK, sometimes is performance. Sometimes I always feel like it's remaining something, right? Or I always feel like sometimes he's overacting. But this particular time, I really did not feel like it was overacting. I actually enjoyed him here. And talking about layered characterization, I like that his character fought till the end, like till the very end. Even when Abby's character said, Boma, waiting then do you, and he goes, you keep fighting. I like that there was a consistency in who he had been portrayed to be in the beginning. I mean, they weren't trying to kill anybody, but they had this idea of fighting for something that he stood up for, and then so I really like that, and I liked how he acted it. All the stowaways. Degbe, is that his name, Degbe? I like this too a lot. It was quite unhinged enough for me. I'm impressed with the use of the Ijaw language. I'm surprised that I heard that most of them are not traditional speakers. I thought that was great. Overall, I thought this film had something. But then we'll talk about that later. But yes, I really liked everything all together.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. Uchenna, do you want to go now?
Yeah, as has already been mentioned, I was pretty impressed with the scale, but that's pretty typical for Play Network. They put money on the screen, and it's impressive. Even small details like at the beginning, the protest. You can see a big crowd, and that seems like such a minor thing, but for Nollywood, where we don't really have organized extras, it's really it's really difficult sometimes to really produce a crowd on screen, and they did that pretty well. And I liked things like the fairy tale feeling of the beginning. uh I don't think it came off as well as it should have, but I like the fact that they attempted it, and to some degree I like the way that they pulled it off. A lot of the cinematography was good. i'm trying to um I'm trying to talk about the cinematography as distinct from the directing, because I didn't love the actual compositions on screen, but I felt that the photographing of those compositions was good. The color was good, the light was mostly good. Um, that this the holding cell, not a cell, you know what I mean, where the six our six protagonists were in. I'm kind of assuming it was a set. I don't know. Maybe it was an actual part of the ship, but it seemed really, really big. So I assumed it was a set. I don't know if it was a set. I think they really did a good job of building that. It looked very authentic with the rust on the walls and everything. So that was quite impressive as well. Um, I liked a lot of the acting. I don't think the Ijaw acting was as impressive, but other than that, I think that most of the actors did pretty well. Um, Alex, shit, his surname is escaping me right now. The guy who played Igor, he was quite good. A very scenery chewing performance, but it was what was needed. I think that he brought a really good energy to the whole situation as well. Let's see. What else would I say? Yeah, Bimbo Manuel. I like Bimbo Manuel as well. For what he was given, I think he did pretty well as well. Some of the broader performances were actually the more interesting ones. So I liked him too. Um, yeah, I guess that's where I'll stop.
All right. Thanks, Uchenna. Timmy, do you want to tell us the things you liked about Blood Vessel?
So just like the previous speakers have said about the visuals, I also really enjoyed the visuals. I loved the color, I loved the lighting, I loved the shadows. I basically loved everything about how the film looked because there were lots of beautiful shots at the beginning with the butterfly, even at the beginning when Abby was giving his voiceover and they make a transition from the green fields and this thing, and they made this transition to when the oil had already destroyed their environment. I really liked that. I liked there was this shot when Abby wanted to rescue what's her name? Oyin from her father's whatever. And when Oyin was um talking to Abby about how she needs to get out, there was this low angle shot that focused on Abby's face, and that was a very, very beautiful shot. Um what else did I like? I like the fact that the characters in this were consistently written and they were sort of developed, and a lot of things about them were set up nicely during the first act of the film. So I really liked that. I loved the sound. Sorry, I loved the music. I watched this with my headphones, and the music was, I think the music was my favorite part of the film, because it felt very innovative, but it was also, um how do I say this? It was a standout element for me in the film. Like Elizabeth said about the symbolism when they threw Oyin back into the ocean. I liked how they did all of that. I basically liked the fact that she died at the end of the day, because the prophecy was fulfilled. And just like she said that we came from water, and when we die we'll go back into the water, she went back into the water. Every other person too that died on the ship went back into the water. So I really liked the whole symbolism thing. And the use of language in this, before I watched this film on Friday, I had never heard a word of Ijo. But when I watched this film and they were speaking Ijo, I was amazed, because it's such a very beautiful language. It sounds so beautiful. And there's something about the language. I think the way they produce their consonants, it, I don't know, that was just my favorite part of the whole dialogue thing, hearing them speak in Ijo. And I also read that a lot of the actors had to learn the language before filming, which I think is actually very impressive. I was surprised to hear Bimbo Manuel speaking Ijo. I was surprised to hear what's his name? Is it Jidekene? I don't know if he said things in Ijo, but I believe he did. But basically, the fact that these actors had to put in effort into learning the language before filming was very impressive. I like the plot twist at the end, the fact that Tekena survived. That is what I would say you call a plot twist, because it was unexpected, but then it makes sense. I mean, well, yeah, I would say it makes sense, because as someone from the Niger Delta area, I would like to assume that you can swim and find your way to the nearest shoreline or whatever. So, yeah, I really like the plot twist, because it's yes, basically it was unexpected but also made sense. Um, I don't know if I've mentioned the cinematography. The cinematography in this was quite good. It was quite good. And my favorite parts of the film in terms of cinematography was the second half of the film. And during the second half of the film, there were lots of tight shots that gave you this sense of them being enclosed and nowhere to escape. There was this sense of urgency in those shots, so I really like that. Um, the fight choreography, oh my god, the fight choreography was it was well done. Honestly, if they said that this film had a budget of $1 million, I would totally believe, because they went out, all out. Um, in terms of the production design, I also liked the production design. Everything in this felt real. It felt lived in. It felt it felt real, basically. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Timmy. Pushback will come. I think I think it was Olana. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, Olana.
Olana. Okay. All right. Thanks, Olana. Thanks for coming. Please tell us some of the things you liked about Blood Vessel.
First things first, one of the, I think the main thing I liked about it was the use of a minority ethnic group language. Recently with Nollywood, I've been very much like I've been exhausted with the use of majority languages, and I've always been like, surely, yeah, there are more stories to tell within Nigeria that doesn't just center Wazobia. So when I heard the Ijaw language. Like the first 5 minutes of the movie, when I heard the language, I was like, wait, what language is this? And I was certain it was not Efikibibio, because like I've watched indigenous movies with Efikibibio language and I'm very familiar with it. So I was like, what language is this? And I had to go about, I had to learn this is the language. And it excited me, first of all, because it was not a commonly used language. And then secondly, when I learned that most of the actors in the movie aren't even Ijo, I was like it takes a lot to actually that it was acting. I had to mention it in something I wrote earlier, that I was reminded that these people are actors first of all, and the idea of acting is to immerse yourself in the character. And if the character is speaking a language that you may not be familiar with, it behoves on you to basically learn the language. So the fact that they spoke a language that most of them were not familiar with, and they spoke it well enough, because I've seen Ijaw people acknowledging the use of the language, and clearly they are more impressed than than underwhelmed by it. So that was the first thing I really liked about it. Secondly, I liked how human the characters were. There has been, once again, something really I don't really see in a lot of, like, you see characters but you don't connect to them in the sense the character is not human enough. So watching the characters in Blood Vessel, it's gives them, they look natural. They look like people you would know, people you've met. The idea that this person is how this person is supposed to be. I think my two favorite characters were Boma and Olutu, because Boma was a revolutionary from the beginning to the end, and is every scene. I loved so many scenes he was part of. This is my best performance from Jide Kene, because even from the scene where Debe was killed and he just sat there in shock, like that moment of just being still, it was very relatable. And then in the scene where he tells Abby to fight, it's a consistency in character. So I really like that. And I also like that Olotu was the noble, caring older brother from the beginning till the end. So I really enjoyed how relatable the characters were, how relatable their love was. I loved the use of spiritualism, the use of mythical stories within the story. I also love, there's something Charles of Play does with his productions, where he basically um includes another story he's telling into the story that is currently being told. So there is a cinematic universe, so to say. And I like that they included the Igbo landing story, because I've heard of the production he has going on with the whole Igbo landing thing. And I like that they included that story, because it should probably weave in at a later time. And also the fact that each of the characters, or most of the characters that were killed on the ship, went back to the water, just as Oyin had said in the story. So it's like a retelling of stories on. It's a retelling, or how will I even say itself? It's basically them reliving what she had already said about the ancestors of the past. Also, I liked the cinematography, the shots went a long way as far as storytelling goes. The scene where Igor kills Oyin and then dumps her body, and Abe is basically groveling on the ground, and Igor just stands over him. Like, the shot was, it was supposed to give off this menacing vibe, and I felt like it really portrayed that in that sense. Also, the music was very, very instrumental as far as storytelling goes. I think my best scene as far as the music goes was when Abe opened up the I don't even know what to call it, the little compartments they were staying in, and then each of them were coming by to greet him or to like congratulate him, and the music in that scene portrayed so much emotion, like the relief he felt and the sadness he felt. So everything, there were a lot of things, too many things that were right as far as this movie goes. It's possibly my best production from Charles. I believe it is, as far as acting, as far as cinematography, as far as sound production, and maybe I'm just really, really, really excited by the use of an indigenous language that is not Wazobia. But yeah, I really like the movie. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Olana. Um, and I think it's Nollywood Must Change next. Nollywood Must Change. Are you there?
Sorry, I'm here. I'm sorry. So I think I would be repeating almost everything everyone has anybody to say anything. Actually, I was kind of worried that I might be the only one who would like this movie and I will come here to fight you guys. So but I'm glad I'm not the only one. Um this movie is a beautiful movie. Like it's visually beautiful. Like I I when anytime I'm trying to anytime I just pick like a flop, I kind of the visual appeal it gives me just overrides the flaws. So I kind of like this movie in a way that the characters were real, they were real characters, and we could we got the backstories, the motivations were kind of realistic, and um every loose end was tied. So for I'm sorry, I'm bad with names actually. So the guy that was talking a lot, this guy's Jide's friend. I kind of like how he was the first. He was the one who ratted them out, and he was the first person to be killed. So I kind of like the character development, the cinematography, and I enjoyed how it's a slow burn movie. Like they were not rushing into the actions. They were giving us backstories. They were developing the stories. So it's a beautiful movie for me. I don't want to repeat what almost everyone has said, but I kind of like this movie, and I preferred they had given it more publicity more than what they had given Black Book. This movie, should I say these are our best original movies since Netflix? I don't know. For me, I think this is the best. I'm trying. Maybe I forgot something. I can't remember the other movies, but I think this is the best original Nollywood Netflix original I've seen so far. So it's a good one for me, and I'm surprised that Charles of Play could pull this off.
Wow. All right. Okay. No need to drag hubby like that into this. Just praise him and go your way. All right. I think it's a Nolly Goodfellow.
Okay, hi. Yeah, so I remember just last week we were talking about ambitious movies in Nollywood this year. There were so many ambitious movies. And I'd say this one was one that actually lived up to the ambition that was there. And what really stood out for me, or what really what really stood out for me was the writing, the way it was. How do I put it? The way it keeps you engaged right from the start is actually praiseworthy, and like many people have already mentioned, the different elements that were woven into the film are also that was also something really well done. And what I really liked about it is that it still did not slow down the pace of the movie. Like even when they went to the resistance to slavery, or when they went to the mythical story, it still did not slow down the pace of the movie. And the undertones, all of that was very well done. Again, with writing, the character sketches is again something everyone has mentioned. The cinematography, of course, again, something everyone has mentioned. Another thing I really liked is how the movie brings attention to the Niger Delta. I mean, this is not the first movie or the only movie to do it, but considering the reach and the scale that this movie has, I guess it it would do a great job of highlighting the issues over there. So yeah, and of course the acting was good, and yeah, I guess those are all my points.
No, thank you, Nolly Goodfellow. And we have, I think, Inka. Inka, are you there? If no, Inka, we go to Rotimi.
I'm here. I'm here. Sorry, I had to open the something because I was washing something. Whatever, that's a long story. So, at the risk of repeating myself, and I like to repeat myself, according to Mr. C, I agree with most people. The cinematography, the acting, Ijo, a minority language, the scale of the movie, which is like, I'm just like, why did they commentate it like a big boat like that? And it actually looks like the boat was kind of moving. I was just like, what? This is like a lot. It takes a lot to film this. And I'm just so shocked that I am shocked because it comes from Play Network. And this is awesome. It also puts into perspective the other ones that they've made us suffer through, but this is awesome. But like, it is Moses Inwang, right? And I've liked some of his movies in his past. I generally do think he's one of the few, I won't say few, he's one of the directors in Nollywood that tries new things and tries new concepts. The one with the numbers where one guy is trying to find a girl and he just needs to find like the last four numbers to get it right. Like, that was an interesting concept movie and I actually liked it. Pawn, which is kind of like it's a woman's picture, crazy stuff. Like, even Stalker, I think it was the one that directed that. So he has been that type of director. I mean, the last movie that we watched of his on here was not good. Was not good. It's the one with the COVID kind of movie.
Lolo.
But
Yeah.
it was not good. It was interesting. It was still an interesting concept movie, and he tried. He tried. It's just that I felt like they didn't have the money or realize how to actually completely through that. So I'm not necessarily shocked as much. I feel like maybe this was more in control of of ease. I feel like it was more of his own control than necessarily Charles of Play, because we've seen the movie that maybe Charles of Play might be more in control of. And this guy is a big director. There's usually sometimes they do this. The bigger directors, you bring them in, they'll like ask for like, okay, more control and more money, and they give it to them. You see this also in Hollywood too. So I don't know who really has it, but it's more in line with Moses than necessarily Charles. And for that, I think this movie is truly entertaining. Is a good not necessarily popcorn, but just a good like adult oriented typical movie that is like well made for mainstream. It's just good. It's just okay. You don't feel like you waste your time. You see the effort, you see the story. It's like competent. It's actually a competent movie. And you will remember. It's like one of those rememberable movies, and it's really interesting. It's really good. The using using references to slavery and using references to mythological, and I felt like they weaved it well, that they were well within control of it. It didn't go beyond the control of the director. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, this is a good ending for the year. There is some hope in Nollywood. There's always hope in Nollywood, but this year was a little bit crazy, but it's a good end. I really like the Jord language too. Very, very, very interesting. But
Okay.
I'm done.
Thanks for that. Oh, sorry.
I'm
Thanks.
so sorry. Who?
Thanks, Mika.
I'm so sorry. Who? You see the name of the girl that jumped into something. It's also kind of my name too. So I'm so sorry. Who?
It's just this.
Repeat it.
You were so brief. I got confused.
You got confused. What? Okay.
It's
Okay. It's
all
okay.
right.
It's okay.
All right. Thanks, Ega. I think next word to me.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, first things first. For me, I can't think of anyone better. But I probably think this is my best Play Network movie. I don't think there's anything that they have ever produced that actually tops this for me. I think maybe from the last time I saw them from Glamour Girls, I think it's almost like if maybe anybody took in some of the notes or complaints from that last time, it was almost as though like the thing I liked about it was that how you decentralized the story. Most of everything that happened within this movie happened on the boat, and the it was very easy when I saw maybe the second trailer for this, and I started seeing like the backgrounds when they were the backdrop of the Joy Youth protests and with the military. I was like, okay, this thing that happened, I was scared that happened in Glamour Girls, where we're following all the threads of all the characters and we're not following one central character or one central storyline. So it was good for the different characters to have different backgrounds, like Oyin and Abe running away from Bimbo Bob Marlon's character. That was cool. Then Tekena and Olutu wanted to jackpot. Mama and Elegbe were the freedom fighters trying to escape the military. So, okay, all these people have separate motivations, and suddenly all of them find themselves on these boats. I also really like, funnily, I like the villain in this stuff, Igor. And it was not, it's funny because normally when we get to cast like white people in Hollywood, it's almost, I want say like should I say would I call it B or C list actors? Not really that. I actually don't think it's so much about his acting. I think it's more about how his character played out. I think like his persona, and which is like more. They are more likely to see white people that look like him, especially from the East. I don't know. I think he's from East Europe or Eastern Europe and everything that look more like him than looking like a Hollywood star. And I like the fact that like the violence, the use of violence within the stuff, the stabbing, the fighting, the gunshots in some just the setups of for the gunshots. Yeah, I liked those. A lot of shout out to also the makeup artist. I think that when Jide Kenan's character, when they had skinned him alive, I thought that when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this kind of looks kind of gruesome, and the flesh and the pieces of flesh and with the blood, thought that was nice. I think somebody has mentioned before the last shot when Abe's character goes, and it's almost like all the characters are like their spirits are saying their last farewells to him. I really love the point, the last shot where him and Oyi they're holding themselves. Then Oyi just like she disappears. I think that was touching. I think maybe again somebody has mentioned this before, but I was both shocked but also pleasantly like surprised and happy that they killed Oyin, because normally if I had to predict this movie from the beginning, I would think that both Abe and Oyin will survive and somehow be the only last survivors. But killing Oyin, I'm like, oh Lord. Then the shots for me, like a lot of people mentioned the cinematography, but I think I have to put special mention for the fact that they gave us shots where they actually threw the bodies. I saw the bodies going over the edge and literally hitting the water. I'm like, okay, like they are literally throwing these people really into the water. I'm sure they had maybe lifeguards or lifeguards for safety, but I was like, it was cool to see them actually literally throw the bodies and see the bodies hit the water. Another shot that kind of stuck to me that I liked was when Oyin and Abe were escaping from the house when he removed the air conditioner units and the security bar. It was his brother, her brother, that was inside, and when he was picking up on the sounds, but the close up on his foot as he was operating the tailoring machine and everything, I was like, okay, the sound and that edit there, I really like that. Um, overall, I think it was also cool this year. I think part of the thing I've gotten a lot of things from Netflix this year was about the casting of new younger actors and actresses. Like apart from Jide Kenna, I don't think I recognize anybody here. Please also special RIP to I think it's Sylvester Ekana. My fan and one of the guy that plays Tekena has already passed away before this movie came out, and I'm like, wow. And this was the first time I'm seeing him, and to find out the first time I'm seeing that this guy has already passed away, that kind of just touched me a little. Overall, wow, like, yeah,
Yeah.
come in. Is my time up?
Yeah, your time is
Okay.
up. Just
Okay.
round
So
up.
yeah, overall, it was good not to. I think it's a good movie. I think it was nice to have a good movie from Play Network on Netflix for the end of the year. I'm not mad at it. I think they did well. Yeah, that's good.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Rotimi. And Pearl, do you want to give us the things you liked about Blood Vessel?
Hi. Yes. Okay, so there were quite a few things I liked, and I'll try not to like repeat the things that have been said. One of the things I really liked was the multiplicity of language. I mean, we went from English to Ijaw to Pidgin to also when we met the international crew, um, and by that I mean the international cast. There was some of their language. I know that Alex, the actor, he's Ukrainian, but I think they were speaking Russian, and I don't know if there's like an intersect or overlap or similarity in the language there. But I liked that. But what I enjoyed most, as far as like people speaking, was Boma and Degbe slangs. I liked their slangs, especially the way they really employed all that nautical language. You know, like when they want to say, show us the way, they will say, make you run us the compass. I just liked that so much because it just really spoke to the environment that they grew up in, right by the water. And another thing I liked as far as the water and just depicting that was how at least three characters survived by swimming, because Niger Delta people know how to swim and they start swimming from like when they're kids. So I liked to see that. One thing I really liked from the very beginning was the opening credits and the fact that so much of the credit came in the opening sequence. And I say that because that rude way that Netflix cuts off the credit at the end of a film, they don't let you make the decision for yourself if you want to see the credits or not. I think it's very disrespectful to the people who work on projects for you to just abruptly cut the credits, and then if people want to watch the credits, they have to like go out of their way to sort of go back and look at the credits. I don't like that. People worked on this thing and their names are there. Let it play. I don't know why Netflix does that. So I wish more filmmakers to like put their credits in opening credits, you know. So that's not really about the filmmaking, but it's just something I wanted to say. Um I enjoyed seeing some of our old favorites like Francis Duru, and it's been a really long time since I saw John Dumelo. I almost did not recognize him, so that was nice as well. I thought the performances were quite good, and some of you have mentioned Bimbo Manuel. No surprise there, but also I liked his character because, like, just that irascible, angry person, and he did it really well. It was pretty two-dimensional, but it was all that was needed from that character, so I liked that. I enjoyed the performance by that Ukrainian actor. I went to go look him up and I saw that he has been in some pretty impressive productions. He was in the TV show Snowfall and he was also in King Richard. Let me see. What are more things I liked? Um, and that's just not that there weren't so many things I liked, but just not trying to repeat too many things that have been said. Um, I've probably run out. Oh, no, 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 sorry. I thought that the love story was pretty sweet. I'll have something else to say when we get to the bad section, but just as far as just showing like just love between two people, I thought that it was pretty palpable. I liked how tender and sweet Abby was with Oyin. He just like seemed like really tender with her and all of that, and I liked that. I thought that the way they brought the characters together and got them on that boat together using the community crisis as the backdrop and like a melting pot for all of that, I thought that it was good. And then I think the final thing I'd like to say for the things I like, okay, well, the movie touched on a few like relevant topics and themes, and I liked that. Then my final thing is I like the contrast between the vastness of the ocean and then the claustrophobic setting of that their stowaway quarters. I liked that also. Those are my likes.
All right, thanks, Pearl. I appreciate it. Just going to read a few comments that have come through before we continue.
My
Mr.
mic is refusing to mute. Okay.
All right. Mr. Belgam says that area wasn't a build set. He's talking about the well, it was an empty, unuseful tank inside the vessel. All right. So I don't know if Mr. Belgam worked on set, but it's maybe insider details. My tongue technology says I love the storyline, the use of visual language, the acting gave. I really like the movie. Oh, this movie. Chibuzo says, I like Jidena's acting and the way they mix the language with Pidgin and English. That scene with the python made me laugh. Oh, a boy, a any boy, see child. Oh, boy, a any boy, see child. All right, I don't speak. Anyway, this is a true African story. The language, the acting of the Africans, the dialogue. We need more of these stories. All right, thanks, Chibuzo. Yeah, if you want to share your thoughts and the likes, or if you comment underneath the space, we shall read them out. Okay. Where were we? I think it's a test turn now.
Hi. Okay. So I will start by saying that this is not some of Nollywood's best work. Both old and new, really. The stories that they're telling here and the way they choose to intersect the stories, I thought was very well done. The oil conflict as a backdrop, escaping Nigeria and the whole Japa wave, the love story of interwoven in, and even the friendships and the story of brotherhood that they managed to tell from two sort of different brothers, two sets of brothers, one being Boma and Degbe, and the other one being the two brothers. I thought that it was very well interwoven and very compelling. You're able to connect and interact with each of these characters both individually and as a pair, and I thought that was beautiful. um However, there were three scenes that have stolen my heart completely, and if I was in charge of Oscar nominations, which thankfully I'm not, I would definitely, I thought that they were just perfect. As to one of them is when they ask Loverboy, I always forgot his name there, Abe, if if he loves his babe and if that's his girlfriend, when just before they kill her, and they share a look for a minute. Sorry, a comment just flashed on me. So they share a look for a minute, and I think she's whispering to him, "I love you," but she's not really saying anything out loud. And he's looking at her before he answers him, and I think everybody knows in that moment that at least one of them is going to die, if not both. And the little quiver he does before, like, and you hear his voice breaks before he says yes. I know Kerry Washington was in her house just scared for her job, because that lip quiver, it was perfectly done. um the other scene is when Degbe is shot. Someone mentioned it earlier, when Boma freezes, and even when everyone, is responding, screaming, everyone is hit with a gun, even when he's dragged out of the chair, he's still frozen. And if you watch the scene to the end, and they're dragging him out, and his legs kind of stay locked in a sitting position even after the chair has been kicked out from him. And I thought that attention to detail, that level of acting and directing, was really brilliant. Honorable mention is where they drag Boma through like blood after he's dead, and you see that the blood has coagulated, which is a little different from how it looks in the earlier scene. Like, it's starting to thicken, and I thought that attention to detail was great. And then my final brilliant moment, I think, is when the two lovers are sitting down. It's a flashback. And she's telling him why they can't get married. And he's just like, that's obviously not going to stop us. And then they kiss each other with such passion. I really appreciated the chemistry between these two young people. I love that this movie maintains the tension it needs throughout the whole movie, even though we don't get to the action, quote unquote, even though the entire movie is, there's really action in it the entire time. but it maintains the tension it needs throughout the movie, even while we're still kind of weaving through the backstories. I enjoyed the mix of new and old faces in this. I thought it was very well casted, and the way they chose to use the older cast sort of as supporting characters and really giving the newer cast a chance to shine. I appreciate the language and the pigeon, of course, because those are my people. Sort of, not really, but it was very much worry pigeon, and I very, very much love that. Um, And yeah, there was a lot of great attention to detail here, even from how stricken they looked after a few days underground. I will say that I love the lack of rape because I cannot lie, going in and seeing five, because it's a Nollywood movie, and Nollywood has just scarred me so much that when I saw five boys locked on the ground for an undetermined number of days with one girl, my heart froze a little bit. And so I was very glad when this movie ended and I could sort of breathe that sigh of relief. Um, I like the scene towards the end where he's walking out after he's victorious and he's sort of seen all his friends. It's sort of like a moment in time there of them just kind of hanging out and having fun and wishing him farewell. It reminded me a lot of the end of Titanic after Rose died. And so I enjoyed that. But this is possibly the best movie this year and definitely the best Netflix original.
Okay. All right. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Thanks, Taz. Appreciate your thoughts. Emeka says, I liked how they linked the deaths to the cultural references for Degbe and Mama eating python was a bad omen, and for Yin, as a child of the river goddess, meant if she ever got pregnant or married, she would die. All right. Vanessa.
Yo, look at this reverse of things.
As in right at the back.
Okay. Y'all meant business, man. Okay. Things I liked. Me, I don't really care for not repeating what people said. It is a side. It is cause and effect here. I came last, so I'm going to say what everybody said. Deal with it. First things first. Bimbo Manuel is your daddy's daddy, and I dare any of you to throw Sansan on his name. I will throw Sansan inside your eye. That man, I'm so sorry. Bimbo Manuel stole it from me. And when I first started watching, I was like, why is this man just so viscerally angry? Like the carrying of the cutlass and just talking from house to house. I was like, yes, give it to me. And when I knew, like, it solidified for me that Bimbo Manuel ate down was the final scene. Like, they've come to tell him that his child is dead due to something he did. Because if he did not report that boy as part of the people, his daughter could have still come back home. Yeah, but because of that, his daughter said, no, Abokoku, I'll follow man and go. Now your child is dead. And even upon still, this man still stood up and carried gun. They shout, Abe. And I was like, this is what I came here for. And I like it. I like it a lot. So yeah, Bimbo Manuel is your daddy's daddy. And respect his name. Put some respect on his name. What else did I really like? Oh yeah, I really like the scale of this. And while to me might not have been meaning to throw shade at the $1 million film, I quite enjoyed how this film did scale. Charles Okaleke said, you guys always say I put a boat in all my films. Now this entire film is gonna be on a boat. Deal with it. I was like, yes. I was like, yes. This is how you reply the haters. I'm the number one person that says, what is a play film without a boat? And Charles said, yeah, you're right. You're correct. I'm gonna give you a boat and it's gonna be amazing. And I was like, okay, Charles, I take it back. Give me more boats. Show me your money. When soup is sweet, you know that it's money that killed it. And you can see it. And I was like, yeah, this is nice. Give me more boats, Charles. I'll take it. What else did I really like? Ooh, I really like the performances, guys. Abby's obviously a standout for some of like the new faces. It would be really nice to see him in something else. Nollywood, please do not typecast him as a star-crossed lover going through harrowing things. Give him a chance to work his acting muscles. Let him do other stuff. I'm begging. Now I dey follow now. I dey beg una, please. It was great to see what I saw in Jide Kenachufusi in what's that film called? Living in Bondage, the remake film. You know, we all saw a spark of something. It may not have been his best performance. In fact, I think this is his best performance ever. So sorry. But not sorry. But like we saw a spark of something in Living in Bondage. And then that spark sort of, hate to say, Jide Kenneth, went away. All the following performances weren't great. Maybe it had to be, maybe it was a directing issue, maybe it was script, I don't know. But this was really refreshing. Who said that? But this was really refreshing to me. It was really, especially that scene where everyone has mentioned that scene, but that scene where they first kill Digby and that reaction, that frozen, he was a statue. And I literally paused. I was like, okay, I really like this. I'm so pleased for him. Hopefully this is a upwards trajectory. Um what else did I really like? Yeah, all the symbolism that everyone mentioned, them throwing people into the water is great. It was also really nice to see my guy from Ghana. Why is my brain dead? She literally just said his name.
John DeMello.
John
John
DeMello.
DeMello. He's of beekeeping age. It's so great to see him. He's aging really well. It's nice to see. It was so nice to see him. I could barely recognize him, and I liked him in this. Who else again? What else did I really like? Oh yeah, the sound and stuff I liked. I liked how a lot of it looked. Um, and I think something that Nollywood has needs to learn to do, and I think they did pretty okay in this, was telling serious stories through the eyes of interpersonal relationships, right? Nollywood tends to do this thing when they're either telling like a political story or a drama or whatever, and they're just telling it from like that point of view and not actually going at it from the human angle. And I think this is what this did. Telling the story through the eyes of a couple of star-crossed lovers and two brothers, and it telling the story through the eyes of personal relationships that humans have while they're all going through all of this. So the struggle is the backdrop. The actual story, are these people and how these things affected their lives. And I think it's important that Nollywood tells stories like that and not telling it from what is supposed to be the backdrop. Tell it from the perspective of people. Was I emotionally attached to a lot of the characters? Not particularly. I mean, I was attached to Oyin and Abby just because I love. But they did a good job. At least it's a great starting point, telling the stories from the perspective of people and human relationships. And yes, Otas, the rape thing. And it wasn't just her being locked on the ground with the fiber. It was literally, I was it was in my throat towards the end when Igor was asking, oh, do you love her? Do you love her? And I was like, God, please don't let Igor rape her. If you're going to give us a villain, please give us a villain that would not sexually assault a female character. Like, yes, he's a bad guy, but he don't rape. And I was like, when he just shot her in the head, I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll take that. I'll take it. I literally breathed a sigh of relief. It's been probably the first film in Nollywood on Netflix this year that did not have a rape scene. And for that, I want to thank Charles. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Vanessa and Wayne's rants.
Hi, my phone is 0%, so I'm just going to have to go as fast as I can. The things I liked. I think I'm trying to remember any place in this film where there is a part of the story that I think is unnecessary and I can't find. It's like whoever wrote this film must have been a tailor because it's like so neatly woven together. Okay, that's actually not a tailor, but it's like it's really like the stories are really woven together. So when you find out that like Bimbo Manuel's character, he's really angry that his daughter is pregnant. And it's like, it's an emotion that we understand, but his is very heightened. And it's like, I understand she's been impregnated, but it's not that deep. But when you realize that it's a literal life or death scenario, you understand why he's whatever he was in the beginning. And the same thing of how they all like, I mean, everybody has said this, how they all like get on the vessel, how like it's like domino effects where Bimbo Mano's character, because he's so angry and thinking so irrationally, basically puts a bounty on this guy's head, and this guy is now forced to have to leave the country with this girl he loves. Now, these two people are wanted by the army, and if they are wanted by the like police or maybe like some will say, okay, they can just go somewhere, but it's the army, you can't hide in Nigeria. So them having to leave Nigeria also makes that much sense. There are these two other characters that
wanted to jackpot from the beginning, and then like it's just like so well woven together. Like I said, the story. Also, I think people have said this, but also the cinematography. I liked how it looked, right? And lastly, because most of the things I was going to say, people have said, I- any good story is as good as your villain, right? If you have a villain that doesn't feel like a villain, or that doesn't like bring his A game, which we usually get when we get white people cast in Nollywood. You just have like some random white guy they picked on Oshodi, or you're white, come and act. But when you have a villain that actually embodies what it means to be a villain, it raises the stakes of the whole film.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yep.
Hi.
Yep. Go, yeah.
Sorry, why was it suddenly silent?
Oh no, you can't hear him. There's someone speaking. Just you can't hear him, but there's someone speaking.
Sure, sure.
Oh, so nothing is happening to him. Sorry. Um, sorry. Oh, you can't even hear me saying sorry. Anyways, I'm rounding up. So it's like if you have a good villain, it elevates the film itself, and the villain I think was really good. So yeah, those were my likes.
All right, thanks, Wayne's Rants. Sorry about that, Naughty good fellow, and sorry, Wayne's Rants. Yeah, sometimes Elon does the thing where one person can hear another speaker. That's what we just had. That's just what we had going on. All right, okay. Mrs. C, do you want to say some of the things you did like?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to be like everybody and say I did appreciate them using an indigenous language that is not one of the big three. I do want them to do more of that. That was good. I liked like Vanessa said, Bimbo Manuel is everybody's daddy. I think he is absolutely brilliant, absolutely love him, and he just eats every time. I did like the new faces. I think the person who played Boy is just absolutely stunning, absolutely pretty girl. I want to see more of her. Abe as well, absolutely pretty boy. I do want to see more of him as well. What else did I like? I also liked that it was set outside of Lagos. I like that it was set outside of Lagos. It did have that feel of being different, which I think was good. That enhanced my viewing pleasure. I really liked like the location before they went to the village. Before they went to the boat, sorry. I really liked the location before they went to the boat. It felt kind of familiar. It felt like places I'd been in or been around, and just felt very normal. Like even the woman selling bole with a deep Akwa Ibom accent in a Bayelsan town, it just seemed right. You know what I mean? Because especially in this day and age, a lot of places are not homogenous like that. So you will have those mixes of people in different places. So yeah, I think I think that's it.
Okay. Say Goddess and Nana says really loved all the cards brought their A. Really loved that all the cards brought their A game. Honorable mention to the guy who played Abby. He's a special talent. Lots of love for the actor who played Abby. All right. So mine. Let me just get my list. Okay. First off, all right. I'm just going to say we're clearly going to have a fight here. But when the good section, Bimbo Manuel, I think people have mentioned production. I think people have mentioned there's a lot to praise about it. Especially, I just like the look of this. It does. I think every once in a while I have a does it look like a film pass? Does it look like a film test? I have, and some, a lot of Nollywood movies that pass this. Like if I walked in, would I have gone, oh, that's a film. And I think there are loads of places where, yes, most part of it, if I looked at it, I would think, yeah, that's a film, right? I wouldn't need to put Nollywood in front of it. So I think the escaping sequence with Oyin where she's leaving, I thought that was quite well done. For I would say for us, it's quite well done for us. I think I liked the use of sound design there too, because there's a point where I think it's her brother who is on the sewing machine or something, right? And he's sewing it, and they take out the AC, and he stops and the music stops. It's like that kind of playing with tension. I thought that was really well done, and good, more kind of things. This kind of thing I expect at least one of these from a Moses Inwang film, because he's somebody who is very much interested in the filmmaking aspect and not just the things actors say, which is just nice. It's not that things people say. It's not just like we can't have dialogue stuff, but like it's just nice to have a variety in our filmmaking space. And he's one of the people who does try to do filmmaking. It doesn't always work, but yeah. I have here Jide Kene's look. Nothing else. Jide Kene's look. A score I thought was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. And I put nice to see a lot of us Sangolo. All right, okay. That's no, it's a thing we don't often get Nollywood film people like able to actually kiss online, like they love each other or like they want to be each other, because like a lot of the times our actors and relationships and people or well, let me not speculate further, but we don't often get people actually kissing a lot on screen anymore, for whatever reason. You just get it from a few actors. And also I've got Igor's death is the funniest scene of 2023. All right. Doesn't matter if it's ironic. I loved it. All right. Okay. So we're going to head into the sides that we did not like, and it's Chinweke. Chinweke, please, could you tell us some of the things you did not like about Blood Vessel?
Okay, thank you very much. So this feels cruel because a lot of the things that I didn't like are as a result of the really high standards the film sets. It's like you've done the difficult thing, so you shouldn't be messing up the basics, right? So I mean, it had a really solid first act. I thought the first act was really solid, but after that, it started to collapse under its own weight, and it never quite recovered for me. And it started off as a serious film, and I think I took it a bit too serious because it was like 1 minute I was watching a bunch of people involved in a protest where somebody died, like stuff like that. Like it just felt too serious, and then the next thing is like they're about to get on these boats randomly, just like that, and it's like okay, like it shifted from a serious film to a not so serious film, and I don't know, that was very jarring. It also felt incoherent and disorganized for really long spells. Like I had to just check out a bit, and like I couldn't just handle it. It felt like they were trying to do too many things at once, which isn't a bad thing. But if you don't pull it off well enough, it just comes off as trying a bunch of random stuff and then seeing which one sticks. Yeah, and it felt like that for certain points. Like, okay, let's throw in a protest. Let's throw in the Igbo landing story. Let's use minority. Like, let's use these things that tug at emotions, and which is really what film does. But if you don't do it well enough, I become aware of it, and I don't know. That's not a good thing. So I don't know. I think everything. I was just. I think they got a lot of the basics wrong because I won't say they got it wrong. It's more like they ignored it because these are people that know what they are doing. Like these are really serious filmmakers. So it was unusual to see their choice of ignoring those things. The story had a lot of. I can't even start to get into a lot of them, but they had a lot of plot holes that a film of this scale shouldn't have. Um, I think that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Oh, thanks, Chinweke. I'm kind of with you. I think that the first act was the strongest part of the movie for me. I'm just gonna say this just to remind some people, because I know some of you have forgotten. Perry was in this movie. All right, let's carry on. I think it's Elizabeth. Elizabeth.
Hi, so let's get into business. What do I not like about this film? I'm going to start first there because when I first noticed this one, I wrote it down in my notes. The ship was hardly moving. I don't know what's going on, guys. Did they park in the middle of the ocean and then started shooting? Was that the idea? Was that what was going on? You mean all of the time? Like, I do get it. They got the captain and then hid him somewhere. But it just felt like when everything was happening, action, nothing, it was just standing in the middle of the ocean. Even before then, there were shots of them just, the ship just sitting there. I don't know if it was a still or they just put it in. I'm just like, why is this ship not moving? This ship is just sitting down in the middle of the ocean, not going forward, not going backward. What is the plan? Anyways, so I'm going to say something. So what Chinweke said about you throwing up, let me tell you what's happening here. What has happened is beats. You know, like music, where there is a beat, you know what to expect when it's a piano, right? When it is Afro beats, you know how South Africans think that Nigerian music is too fast for them to dance to in the club, and how Nigerians have adopted piano, and then people are like, I beg, all the songs that are so slow, bring back old Afro beats. Again, the point is, all of this music explanation is just like how music has beats to define the mood. That's how movies to have beats. Now, this film has a beat. It's a consistent beat. Okay, if you remove that first protest, which seemed to happen so fast, everything consistently followed something. And then Nollywood Must Change mentioned that this is a slow burn. I wished it was not a slow burn because it's completely changed the landscape of what this film should be. This is a film about stowaways, right? It should have been faster paced, and I'll tell you why. Because you have all of these things happening. It's sort of like a thriller, right? There is this guy that is picking these people one after the other and then prying them. The combination of it didn't help again with the music. It was such a reflective, sometimes contemplative music going on. I do get, because it is fitting for scenes where the lovebirds, they need ways, one of them is going to get killed. Fitting for the brothers, right? Allows us to feel sorry for them, is German. But it started when they started shooting, when they killed Jegbe, it started so fast because it was like the pace of the film supposed to change in that moment. Like there was, just like in classical music, when the conductor changes beats, right? There was something there when from nowhere, pam, we got a shot on the BZ. That was indicative that, sorry guys, act one, scene two, right? Or whatever was going on, we are changing gear. But rather than follow that kind of pace that they've introduced us to a vibe they couldn't maintain, it went back to just doing this slowly paced thing. I don't know why that is. Anyway, so back to what I did mention in my that I really like, the myth, the use of myth and the backstories. I think it was fitting in such a way that it could have been perfect if there were, we're getting these characters and we're seeing their backstories, and then we're reflecting and we're seeing the reason why they wanted to Japan and stuff. So, but the problem with that old destiny thing happening, especially Oyin's own, we got the flashback of our mother saying, grandma saying that they got you from the water. I didn't like that because I felt like this is missing the beats of your music in this sense, missing the beats of your film. You first introduced us to that first woman, when they ate the snake, and she said, oh, our people say yada yada. When you do something like that, we already know that as they are boarding these people, like already there's this ominous feeling at the back of our minds as audience that yikes, they may not make it out, right? But if at the I really felt like that coming in, because to me, it didn't add anything to this story again, right? It's just now telling me right in the middle of the action that this baby's going to die. Like when she mentioned that Anisha was going to die, I just felt like if it had happened before the ship left dock, right? Again, it just intensifies that feeling of, that ominous feeling. But rather it's happening in the middle where, he sleeps, she's looking at him, is an outcast. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. It didn't take away from the film, it just didn't add to it for me. What else did I not like? Yeah, the gunshot and the blood splatters needed. What they were just blah. The worst scene for me was when Ego was gonna kill Abby. Abby had just escaped from that table, like bench thing. And this guy was, Ego was saying, "Where did you go?" Guys, the visibility wasn't exactly that bad though, because I had to rewind to watch again because I wear glasses, but I'm like, maybe it's because I was wearing glasses. If I come out my glasses, will it change? And I looked under that very light table and then that light bench. And then there was like maybe 4 stack of meat. I'm like, guy, this place is as big as where's the smallest piece of my house? My store. Like, guy, if you stretch your hand from one end to the other, you're going to touch the walls. What are you looking for? Like, that scene would have been funny if it wasn't so amateurish. Really, for me, that scene, I just felt like I was like, what is this scene? And it takes me back to the fact that the beats of this film is what is the entire disconnect. Like, this is like when a film when a story is at the cusp of glory, you're like, just right there, just something remaining. You're about to be great. I'm like, no, you're not gonna be great. Because somebody sat down and decided, maybe it's Moses Inwang himself that's like, let's do it this way. And then music didn't help, guys. The music, every time that music come, I'm like, oh, I just want to throw my laptop, like, oh my God, I'm going to sleep. I'd already slept twice this morning. I've been busy lately. I was like, today I was going to sleep. And this film was just not gingering me. Again, what is your genre? If your genre is thriller, why are you doing it as if this is a contemplative film about life and love lost? Maybe it is. Maybe it should have worked. I'm just saying that it could have been better. It wouldn't have lost people. I mean, I guess. What else did I not like? Oh, I can't remember much, but that's it for me for now. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth.
I'm with you on the question of what is your genre, by the way, because I got confused a few times.
It seemed like it started as a political
yes,
type,
which I was like, all right, I can get with this, and then
it turned into Die Hard on a Ship / a thriller. Which
Yeah.
okay, all right. Uchenna, do you want to go next?
Okay, last week, in last week's session, I briefly mentioned how I saw the trailer for Blood Vessel and I had a bad feeling about it. And after saying that, I actually felt very guilty. I felt quite regretful about saying that because it's not really fair to pass those kind of judgments on a movie without actually seeing it yet. And I really did want to give it the benefit of the doubt. But what I said was that I just didn't see a sense of vision in the trailer. Like I saw a sense of scale without a sense of actual vision. And unfortunately, watching the movie, it played out exactly as I expected, only a little bit worse. I didn't like this movie at all. Unfortunately, there are a lot of things I appreciated about it, but as a whole, I did not like it. The first thing I didn't like is the title. A title with a pun like that gives you the idea it's supposed to be something sort of tongue in cheek, like maybe Peter Jackson's early zombie movies where it's supposed to be sort of scary, but it's also sort of funny, like The Evil Dead, something like that. I didn't think it was a good idea to do that. And this movie is clearly a ripoff or an adaptation of a movie from 1996 called Deadly Voyage, which was a movie about 6 West African refugees who are stowed away in a ship full of Ukrainians who are trying to kill them and who do eventually kill all of them except for one. And you can tell that this movie is ripped off from a 90s movie because despite the fact that this is set in the current day, none of the characters seem to have phones, which would completely change the story. But, of course, they don't have phones. That's fine. I'll accept that. I'll accept that reality of it. But, it's just a lot of things just didn't make sense to me. The music was the thing that annoyed me most of all. If you're going to have that much overbearing and persistent music throughout the a movie, can it at least be music that suits the mood that you're going to? As a couple of you have already said, I wasn't sure what the genre is supposed to be, but I'm sensing that it's supposed to be something of a thriller. And I'm trying to be thrilled. I'm trying to get my adrenaline up. I'm trying to get my heart rate going. And you're playing this contemplative Gregorian chant and generic African wails. And it's much more than that. It's actually very manipulative. They're trying to make, they're trying to play this so-called sad music at all these moments that are supposed to make you feel something. But I think it's much more important to let a scene breathe, let a scene find its own rhythm, let the actors and the directing find their own rhythm. But you're just plying this music on constantly, trying to make us feel somehow sad. And at the beginning, Abe says it's a love story. It actually isn't. You know what I mean? Like, we keep on seeing these people professing their love, but it's not a love story because there's no dynamics to their relationship. We don't see any kind of real conflict within the relationship, nor do we really see a conflict that the relationship has to overcome. Now, the beginning where you see him cutting out the air conditioner, that's a conflict that the relationship has to overcome, and that started out pretty good. I felt the first act was decent, but as we go on, you kind of lose that. And at the end, that scene where Igor asks him, "Do you love her?" And then he has to think, and we watch flashback of their relationship, and then he says yes, like it's some sort of revelation or realization. Why is it a revelation? He's been saying I love you, I love you, I love you for the whole thing. There was never a point at which their love was in doubt. So that just seemed completely unearned to me, and I didn't feel that at all. And I just didn't think that there was a consistency to the characters either. I mean, like, when you have a story that's about a bunch of characters in an enclosed space, most of that story is going to be about different personalities bouncing off each other, but you don't get much of that. I mean, you have some token gestures towards that, but you don't get enough of it, I think. And even then, I complimented the production design of that room they were in, but at the same time, I didn't get a sense of the room space. I think that's kind of important when you're trying to make a story about people enclosed in a space. You have to give an idea of what the space is. And to be honest, even just looking at it, that room looked very, very big. Like, somebody said in the comments that it was an unused fuel tanker. I was like, yeah, that makes sense because it looked huge. And I think that defeats the purpose of what they were trying to do. But if you're trying to do a thriller, you have to set boundaries, because thrillers are about people trying to thrive within a limited space and time. And we didn't really get an idea of the space on the ship or the space in that room, and we definitely didn't get an idea of the time. How long did it take to get to Nimbe to Accra? How long did it take to get from Accra to Cabo Verde? I mean, we never had any idea of that, and I was completely confused. Like, how long were they in there before they decided that they have to go out to look for food? I don't know. I mean, when Jide Kene's character gets up from the dead and kills the Ukrainian, I'm assuming he's Ukrainian, at the end, part of me was like, wait, how can he still be alive after... And I had to think, wait, after how much time? I don't know how much time it was. How long was he lying down there, skinned, and still somehow living? I don't know. How long was it? Was it a few hours, a few days, a few weeks? I have no clue. I don't even know what any of this stuff is. And then, I mean, let me think. What else I mean, just so much of this stuff just felt completely undercooked to me. Like, they're throwing things at the wall, just hoping that they stick. Oyin is sick, so Abe has to go out to get medicine. Okay, after that, we never mention Oyin being sick again. That just completely goes away. Tekena and Olotu need to fight to the death, and Tekena comes out, I hate you. Really? We didn't see that come from anywhere. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Am I running out of time?
You've run out of time, yeah.
All right, let me say a few more things real quick.
You've not only run out of time, you've stolen all our ideas. Go away.
Okay, just two more things. Okay, two more things I'm going to say is that, number one, that whole thing about putting in all this mythology stuff, I didn't like that either. because I was wondering what was the point of it. I thought they were setting something up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like to tell a creator the way they should have told the story. I just like to critique what they already did. But one thing I'll say is that I thought they were building up some sort of ending, which to me would have been much more romantic, where Abe and Oyin hold hands and jump into the water together like those slaves. And the way it was ended instead just didn't have the same power to me. And I didn't understand the point of that story except to promote the Play Network extended universe. And it just did not work. And then the last thing I will say then.
Hey,
Sorry, you have to come back.
you wait
No,
for
no,
you.
no, please be going.
Thank you, Chinwe. You have tried. You
So
have tried.
the
You
last
have
thing I'm
done.
this
You have.
this is not an actual critique. It's just a round. It's just a roundup. It's just a roundup saying. I'm gonna say that I appreciate the scale of this thing and I appreciate the money they put into it. But what I would say is that this reminds me of somebody who pours a lot of money into building a house, building a mansion, and then doesn't paint it. The little details aren't there. I'm not going to talk about the effects right now, the gunshot effects. They look like something from a Nollywood film from 1997.
You've tried it.
All right. Thanks, Jeanette. No, I appreciate. All right. I think we have next. Go with Timmy. Timmy.
So the bads. Honestly, God, coming up with these bads was actually kind of difficult because when I first watched the film, I really liked it, and it was very hard for me to come up with my bad section. But here we go. First of all, I didn't understand how Abby's mom knew that Abby was at the boatyard, and then when they showed Olotu looking for his phone, I was wondering, was it that Abby stole Olotu's phone and used it to call his mom? And again, what was even the point of them showing us that part of Abby, of Olotu looking for his phone? Second thing is, what exactly was the ship, and why did Igor and his people have to be on the ship? If they were transporting stolen crude, I really do not see why he had to be on the ship, or why. Yeah, I really didn't get why anybody had to be on the ship if you were transporting stolen crude. And another thing is, cargo ships typically have more crew members than what was shown. I did not see any engineer on board. I did not see any technical crew member, nothing. It was just one captain and a bunch of bodyguards. So I really don't know about that. Um, if Mr. P was taken off the ship, who was serving them their meals? How did they stay so long in the holding area or whatever without suffocating or gasping for air or something? What's this boy's name? Tekena? That he said, I don't know. I really do not even get that his character. Cause is it that you're tired of being treated like a small boy, or you're tired of being blamed for what your brother did? What exactly was your issue with your brother? And if you have these issues with your brother, why will you follow your brother to go and enter a ship on a journey that you don't know how long the journey, you don't even know anything about the journey, but you said that, okay, oh, this brother that you're having issues with, I'm going to enter this ship with you. I didn't get that. And that scene where Tekena, they said somebody should go and look for food or something, when they did the bottle spinning thing, why did Tekena want to prove himself? What was the point? What were you going to gain? I thought you hated this person. So if you hate this person, why do you want to prove so and so to the person? When they stopped the boat at Accra, and now that particular scene, when they stopped the boat at Accra, I can kind of get it that maybe the point of that scene was to tell us that, oh, Igor was transporting stolen crude. But I feel like they really missed an opportunity to add conflict into that scene, because we already know that the captain is a no-nonsense man, and I thought that the captain was sending people to what's it called, to search the ship. But just like that, the ship started moving. Nothing happened. Basically, nothing happened when they went to Ghana. They just told us that Igor was transporting, what's it called, stolen crude. And if they wanted to tell us that Igor was transporting stolen crude, I feel like there are much more efficient ways that they could have done that without adding the extra 3, 4, 5 minutes of that scene.
Um, Aha. I didn't feel the love between Oyin and Abby because we were only shown scenes of depiction of love between them, but there was really nothing to justify the fact that Oyin was willing to sacrifice her life or take the risk of dying just to be with Abby. Yeah, Abby has said it multiple times. Oh, I love you. This, da da da. He has also shown, that he loves what's her name, Oyin. But why does Oyin love Abby? Why you know of this thing that your grandmother told you, and you're like, oh, you don't believe in it, this, that. But share that kind of fear, as a Nigerian, I don't know, if you grew up in all this, if you grew up surrounded by all these superstitions or whatever, I feel like there's some sort of fear you're supposed to have that, okay, oh, maybe we actually shouldn't be doing this. And then you went to get pregnant for him. Crazy. Did they happen to forget about the poop buckets in that their this thing? Did the place suddenly stop smelling? Did they get rid of the poop bucket? When they were showing us scenes of them in that holding area, I was thinking or expecting that they were going to show us how they were struggling with being held in such a place for quite a very long time. But I think the only thing that it showed of them struggling was the poop bucket. And after they referenced the poop buckets, they did nothing with the poop bucket at the end of the day. Um, Another thing is the resolution of the Wahala between Degbe and Abby was very underwhelming. Cause
Mm-hmm.
Degbe,
Yeah,
because
man.
Degbe was clearly hated Abby for being half breed or whatever. It's kind of like someone, a white man who is racist, all of a sudden, just like that, happens to be paddies with this black person. We do not see anything that makes what's his name? Degbe transition from hating Abbey to now like being close to him. All that happened was that Abbey told him that, oh, now we are all equals. This that, and they took like 2 3 swings of alcohol, and that's it. And now, yeah, both of us were friends. I don't hate you anymore. That didn't make sense. Um, Abe's plot armor was so undeserved, but well, you can't kill your main character if you want to tell a story, I guess. Um, I also didn't like how Oyin was used in this as the only main female character. She was subdued to nothing, completely nothing. All she did throughout the film was cry and be scared and get. She didn't do anything. They didn't do much with her, and I feel like they could have done a lot with her, but they didn't do anything with her. All she did was, oh, woe me, come and save me, blah blah blah. And at the end of the day, she died. Really, that was like, why would you do this to her? Why would you do this to her? Like, her only purpose was to serve as motivation for Abby, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, girl, come on.
Uh,
Um,
okay, all right. Yeah, you can round up. That's fine. That's fine.
no, wait. I have just two more things to say.
We can't be doing this. We have people on the queue first.
Okay, sorry,
Uh,
sorry.
just like one last thing. Let me give you one last thing
Okay,
to say.
one last thing, thank you. If they somebody mentioned the ship stopping and them fighting on the ship, and that got me wondering that if they tied up the captain who was Pere that was on the ship, was anybody actually steering the ship, or who was even taking control of the ship? Who was there to make sure that things were, working fine on the ship? That's the last. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And in relation to that, this is from Shagun saying the ship was a Tesla prototype. Now, why no engineers or crew there? Which is hilarious. All right. And I think I'm gonna go with Olan.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Um, the thing I actually didn't like, honestly, thank you for mentioning the whole Perry thing because that was the biggest issue I had, I think. With Charles Productions, I think there's always that one character that really doesn't serve anything. It's like he just wants to scribble somebody in it, and that was Perry because Captain, okay, even when he was found and Abby untied him, okay, I was thinking at some point while Abe is fighting, maybe he could join in. The scene where Boma's character stabs the one of the henchmen. I thought it was the captain at first, only for me to see Boma's character. I was like, where the hell is this captain? So the inclusion of the captain dude and his entire purpose being just to throw people off the ship, more or less, was really like there was no need, and I don't know why they put that character in. It was so unnecessary. So I actually agree with the idea of who was steering the ship. Okay, where were the other? I think when the white men came on board, there were about three persons there. That's Pere, Mr. P, and some other person. Mr. P, why did Mr. P have an emergency heart attack? Was he really sick? Did he just do it to get off the ship? What was the reason? And then, okay, the whole him denying them, it was just one of those things. He's trying to save face. But once again, what was the reason why he suddenly got off the ship? Is that something he does? There was no backstory to why that scene happened. Then there was no other technical person, and this ship was just sailing. It even makes sense why the ship was stopping at long periods of time, because clearly nobody was moving the ship. The idea of I agree with the point about the timing. We don't know how long it takes to move from one point to another point. It's a ship, so sailing tends to take days, weeks. So you are telling us that within from Nembe to Ghana and then to Cape Verde, I understand that there was food with them initially, because Abe mentions bringing together their food items or whatever to share. So the idea of them maybe staying 3-4 days without getting anything from Mr. P was okay. But the rest of the time going from Ghana to Cape Verde, surely that would have taken at least a week or something. Nobody came to give you guys food. Nobody came to ask what's going on. Nothing. So those lapses were present, and I don't know. Can we do some filling in? I don't know. Some of the issues mentioned. I don't know if there's a different category for filling in some of the issues mentioned, or please, Miracle Chrissy, can you please help answer that?
Which question, please?
Can I maybe reply some of the issues raised, or why it could have made sense?
No,
not yet.
we have a
We have
pushback
pushback
section.
section.
Don't worry, we'll
Just
come to
take note
that.
of it.
Yes, take note of them. We'll come back. We'll come back.
Okay,
All right.
that's
Thank
fine.
you.
So those are just my Thank you.
All right. No, thank you. And next we Nolly Goodfellow, if you wanna.
Yeah. So I'll start with the problems I had with the film. Performance-wise, I mean, many people liked the Ukrainian guy, but for me, for some reason, Alex Budin did not work. I felt he was over the top, and I felt his accent also changing. Like in many places, it was Russian, and suddenly it was out and out American. So that was one problem I had. And talking of him, of course, the final showdown, like many of you mentioned, was pretty laughable. So, like when Abby he releases some gas. What is that gas? Where did it come from? I think that wasn't clearly established. And when Igor skins Jidekine alive, you can see that he's tied to that table and everything. And when he's preparing to skin Abe alive, he's just left him like that. So I think that was pretty amateurish, as someone just mentioned. So that was one problem I had. And another thing was, like I said, the movie was pretty pacey. It was moving at a good pace. And at the end, I do understand they wanted to close all the loops, but suddenly the final act became very, slow, and it was stretched a bit too long, and that sort of took away the adrenaline rush that the movie was giving throughout. So yeah, those would be my points.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I felt like that end felt like is it an epilogue? Is it epilogue or
Epilogue, yeah.
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. All right. Thanks, not a good fella. Nollywood must change.
Oh, sorry. I was gossiping. I was checking out Instagram of some of the actors. So, okay. I think my first dislike for this movie is that Nembe is my ex is from Nembe. It kind of, take me back to some things that I didn't like. I didn't want to remember, but it was kind of funny too, and it made me more interested in the movie. And so this, like I said earlier, I said I like this movie because I kind of enjoyed it. For me, I kind of enjoyed it because it was, the characters were good looking. I mean, the actors were good looking. The cinematography, the visuals were kind of beautiful, but so it made me not to, notice some flaws. Like I didn't like I noticed, but I just looked away. Like I want to enjoy this movie. Yeah, especially for the lead actress and the lead actor. So um, but in a way, I kind of felt like these people were not speaking the language fluently. I think I kind of picked that these people were not speaking the language fluently. The way they were speaking, it was not fluent. Yeah, I think that one too is my dislike for the movie. And then, you know, I noticed that the reason this movie kind of dragged for some people was because they were trying to, to make this movie Nigerian in a way. Because when we got to the later half of the movie, my brain was telling me that I've seen this movie somewhere. Like this movie looks like something I've seen before. But I was trying to pick what like this is something I've seen in the past. Then I later realized it was Deadly Voyage. They copied. So for that, because when I was in this movie, it's too perfect to be from Play Network. Like this movie is too perfect to be from Play Network, and this movie is too perfect to be from the writer of this movie. So I knew something was off about it. So for that, I'm not going to give them the mark for writing because it was like they copied. Like there were some shots that they copied from that movie, and the story of the pregnant girl thing was in Deadly Voyage. So I think they could have done better, even though they tried to make it Nigerian and to relate it to what we go through in Nigeria. So for writing, I would score them half over like 50% for trying, for that. And then this I didn't know how Pere got was, how they had to dump parents somewhere. I didn't know why, and I don't know how it happened. All of a sudden, I saw him being locked up somewhere. I don't know who did it, so I would not know why they did it. So I just know maybe they had to cut the scene for that, and I didn't know. Um, like I think something got lost when Mr. P had was pretending to have heart attack. So I think he left, but I was wondering why they did because I think they've sailed already by then. So I don't know how he got back, how he left the vessel, and so. But this movie, I think I like this movie. I'm sorry, I like this movie. I'm trying not to eat it, so I'm ready to fight you guys. You hate this movie. That's all I have to say.
Okay, all right. As long as you convince yourself you're the only one that matters to you. Thank you, Nollywood Must Change. And I think Anka, please tell us some of the things that didn't sit well with you.
So some of the things that kind of didn't sit well with me with this movie is at first I didn't like the slavery what's it called, allegory, but then I was like, it kind of makes sense. They didn't go really too deep on that, and it kind of makes sense. But so I'll just put that one is more of a personal thing than necessarily the movie. things that I think that they could have definitely done better. This is more of like a recommendation. It can't be recommended because they've already done the movie. They've done the movie, right? More of like what I would have loved better. I don't mind the changing of genres. I don't really care about like rules of genres as much because things flows all the time. Genres, there's no real such thing as genres like that. You can do what you can change whatever. And you might tell me this is a love story and you may not really focus on the love like that. I don't mind. You're the writer. You move the story anyhow. I'll follow you. But there are certain things. This is more nitpicky. Where did they get the alcohol from? The water calculation, the water calculation in the movie, like, okay, you said you don't have enough water, and then when he, between I've so forgotten Abe and the guy that keeps on calling him half-breed, he calls him half-breed to the end. Even you see it at the father at the end, and I'm like, that's some consistency in the storytelling. But like when he tells him about like his guilt about about accidentally killing somebody, the way they were drinking the water was like, are you guys forgetting that you're supposed to be like you're supposed to be conserving water, right? And you guys are complaining that there's not enough water before in the scene before. So I understand that this movie does not necessarily want to focus on like the claustrophobic survival movie. It's more about, even though it's still a survival type of movie, it's more about dealing with an insane person who thinks you're a spy. And it feels like one of those 1980s, 1990s movies where the villain is unhinged. And I feel like that was perfect. And like an unhinged villain that has a reason to be to do, he thinks that they're a spy, but there is like no real proof of how they're a spy. It's just a psychopathic person. So far, he has told himself a story about like, oh, they're a spy, and he continues despite some of the hesitancy of his fellow something. Is still, so I get it. It's more of dealing with an unaged person who has a power who has like power, and from the point of view of the characters, it is dealing with some like maybe like a reaper, like some debt, and you have to overcome it. It is more of like, if people think about it, as I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, this is like a final girl movie. This is like a final girl movie. It went into that sort of thing. And I get that. But the issue is that scene, which tells me that this movie is not really concerned about like, it's not like 127 hours, where it's about man versus nature and like, how are we going to conserve water? It's not like that. But that scene was like, you guys are forgetting things. You guys needed to hack it out. And that was the director. The director should have stopped there and be like, remember, the scene before, you guys are not just supposed to be gushing on water like this. So continuity is like just continuity of logic. Issues I have, I love John DeMello. Love him. I think, I don't want to say, we get to the Ghanaian coast, okay. We see that they have more powerful people over there. So I don't really necessarily understand why the necessity of that scene is needed. It just seems like a scene to just show John DeMello, right? Or maybe it's a scene to say, because we're going to get an African corrupt person, a corrupt African custom officers on the sea, whatever, later in Cape Verde. And I think they just didn't want to show that, or they wanted to show that they're Africans with like good integrity, right? African, like something with like good integrity. This is my assumption. But I think that scene was unnecessary. You could have just cut it off, and like we go to Cape Verde, and then we see the corrupt officer. There are some the last scene, yes, the last scene was horrid. It was funny. It wasn't horrid, it was funny. but I think they should have just increased the amount of smoke. I don't think there was anything completely wrong with it, but it was funny that the guy that was an unhinged, menacing villain turns into like a weakling saying, "Where are you? Where are you?" I think that transition should have been done better. The transition within that villain character, if you want to make him a weakling going, "Where are you? Where are you?" It should have been done better. There should have been something that triggered that for him. I think that was very, very unnecessarily done. The rest of it, eh, it's a movie.
All
How?
right.
I don't know, but I can go with that. I guess I have reached my time. Okay. Bye bye.
Thanks, Amy. Rotimi, do you want to hang on? Can you mute your mic?
I'm trying. Sorry, I had to on it again.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Rotimi, do you want to give us your section?
Okay. Okay, so the only things for me, like I said before, this is probably the best play network movie, though it's not a high list. It's not a really high bar to scale, but this is for me just in the beginning, towards the first act and second act, there are some things that I just thought were just a little too, I think I'm nitpicking, but they're a little bit too convenient. So when Bibo Bob was looking for Abe's character, he misses Abe just by Abe just bending down. I just like it's possible, but it just felt like a little bit convenient. Abe's sister, knowing exactly where Abe was when the mother came and sent it with her bag, she sends her with her bag. Next scene, you are seeing her, she has given the bag to Abe. Like, okay, how did you find out exactly where this guy was, considering the fact that the army and everybody's looking for you, and this guy's been on the run throughout the whole day? The fact that when the two brothers that were trying to escape, so like, oh, I've lost my phone. Do you guys know Mr. P? Then these other guys say, oh, we know Mr. P. Yeah, okay, why are you trying to do Mr. P? Oh, we want to escape. Okay, all of you just okay. I know Mr. P. I can get in contact with Mr. P for you. Just a little bit too convenient for the plot, just for the plot to happen, just a little too convenient. Then the snake just suddenly, I'm like, it's not like the snake can hang. If they were lying down and the snake is crawling over them, I can understand. But like suddenly the snake is around your neck, and I'm like, okay, what are you that this snake suddenly just landed on your neck? Just felt like convenient. Like, and I don't think that snake was actually venomous or anything. Just hey, but it was convenient. So those things now, the snake now landed into the course for anybody eating a snake, which I'm like, is just both the two mythical tales were just like setups later to know that, oh, you had this snake, oh, you are going to die. Oh, this girl has a mythical story that they cut her from the water. Since she has moved away with Abe, she's going to die. So it was just set up as convenient. Then, like everybody has said, that last scene in the showdown between Igor and Abe, that's a joke. It's just, I think that especially when they do the whole thing that the Abe's set up, like I don't know what is that gas, and it's supposed to like the place doesn't get darker. We can see it's basically the same scene after you release the gas. So it's not, if you are trying to like cover Igor's vision, that place nothing basically changed. And I just thought maybe like some better camera angles could have been used for that. Maybe some change of camera angles, or just to change the whole perspective. We'll get the perspective from Igor's perspective that okay, I don't know where this guy is and everything. But apart from that, yeah, that's all for me.
All right, thanks. Thanks for it to me. All right. I think Vanessa is about to head out, so I'm moving her a little ahead. Vanessa, do you want to say?
Why? Yes, I do. Also, I'm in a Sainsbury's and I'm about to talk about Nollywood, but fun for me, everyone. Um, my bad to just really, what is time? what is time to these people? Especially because one of our main characters is pregnant and snacks around. One of our main characters is pregnant and we conveniently just forget about the fact that she's pregnant and without water and food for however long we do not know. It just seems to be conveniently ignored and forgotten. And a lot of forgotten people are in this film. Parent who only showed up for like 5 seconds in the beginning of the film. We conveniently forgot about him as well. And he showed up again conveniently at the end, which is like fun for us, I guess. Also, a lot of stuff was just convenient in this film. A lot of convenient things were happening. Mr. P's, I don't know if it was feigned or if it was real, his heart attack or whatever. Very convenient for the plot line of them being abandoned and uh, left to die, I guess. I don't know. It just felt, they're all just, everything just felt super convenient and it didn't aid in my attachment to any of the characters because it just felt like a lot of it was contrivances. Things were just placed for placement's sake. Um, and so it didn't aid me feeling anything for any of the characters. So when people died, it just felt really commonplace and nothing really important. Yeah, I guess that's my thing. It's like, why is certain things happening? Uh, sorry guys, I'm about to pay for something in Sainsbury's. uh, but yeah, I don't know. It just felt really off. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, that's my
all
thing.
right.
Sorry guys, I know I'm being
Okay.
very distracted.
Well, no worries. Thank you. But like somebody has already quoted you already, which I don't know. Anyway, thanks, Vanessa. With what is time? What is time? Comment. All right. Back to the Qui. Believe it's Pearl. Pearl, please tell us.
Hi. Okay, so the first thing I didn't like, and I liked it even less when I watched it the second time with the benefit of retrospect, was the narration by Abe from the very beginning. First, the words were not his words. There's no part in the movie where he sounded like that. So that was clearly the scriptwriter talking, and I hate that when I hear that, when words are put in a character's mouth that just does not sound like them. And then also, and I'm talking just the choice of words, but also the politics of the things that he was saying, like when he said he made commentary about the environment, and I was like, oh, when did you start to care about the environment? Because from the very beginning, he was snaring sort of at Boma and Degwe's activism, environmental activism, until at some point Boma had to say, "At least I know what you stand, what I stand for. What do you stand for?" You know, and so it's kind of rich of him when, as far as the story, um as far as the story, this narration comes at the end after all of this is said and done for story chronology. So it's kind of rich to hear him talking about caring about this all of a sudden. There's nothing that happened in his whole entire journey, the journey of his story, that brought him to this place of sudden environmental awareness or appreciation for that kind of activism. And then I know the pregnancy has been mentioned, but that was also like quite annoying how that was used only as a plot device and then quickly discarded. Because if there was ever a time to mention the pregnancy, like when that whole when Igor was going to kill her, you know, how do you forget at that point to say, like, you fight for the life of your child. At that point, you're not fighting for yourself, you know. And then, even if in case I was still confused about if they had forgotten about the pregnancy, when what's his name? Abe was dramatically saying, you know, the thing you do when you're killing the bad guy eventually, and you're like, this is for this person, this is for that person. And he says, this one's for the love of my life. And I was like, and your baby? Remember? Your baby? So, you know, that was annoying. For me, this movie was a character driven story, and for a character driven story, there was just no internal conflict. I didn't see any evidence of internal conflict within the individual characters themselves, and then within the group as a character. And so much could have been done with that. As we've already pointed out, this is a survival story, and a key feature of a survival story is that you try to survive together, and then eventually you have to probably make the difficult decision to choose yourself and work against the interest of the group or whatever. But that conflict within the group just did not happen. I know we've talked about time, so I'm not going to belabor that point, but I feel that when they did not regard time at all, it really just did something very detrimental to this story, because there's no way we can feel what we're supposed to feel if we have no idea of the growing desperation and with direct uh, uh, directly correlating to time, to the passage of time. 2 days is not 2 weeks, it's not 2 months, it's not, so the fact that we have no idea of that just really, really was detrimental to the story. There was no gradual build up in that stowaway quarters from, just to see that value change from being hopeful to then like realization, hopelessness, and then and all of that. I think that they really lost emotional currency in this movie when they cut out the part where these people were summoned up to come up above deck, or to come up from below deck. They just cutting to where they were all out there. Well, it did something to just the emotional stakes in this movie that did not work for me. I wish they hadn't done that. I wish we had seen that moment play out when they're there cowering, waiting to see who comes down next, expecting it to be one of the people who has left, and then it turns out to be whoever it is that came down there to get them. We have no idea. And then I don't know if this is my final thing, but they completely disregarded the environment that this movie situated itself in, so far as how much they interacted with the ship. This movie would have played out perfectly on a bus or on a train or on an airplane, just literally anywhere that you could stash people. This movie would have played out, because they did nothing with the fact that they were on a ship. We didn't see anything as far as just the physical environment that they were in. Let's not even talk about the bigger environment, which was the sea. They probably don't have the budget. I mean, I saw the VFX was by VFX Los Angeles. I'm not really sure what that means, but they clearly had some budget here, and they could have done more interaction with the physical environments of both the ship and the sea. That has its own set of complications and difficulties that they could have used to create conflict. Instead, they just decided to rely on this lazy storytelling of suddenly switching this Igor into almost a cartoonish villain with no I don't know what led to that. There was nothing that they had shown us in his character prior. He was a savvy businessman and a criminal, sure, an oil thief, all of that. We saw all that. But if they were going to show us something about his cruelty, when his girlfriend said she was leaving, honestly, I was prepared when that boat was taking her away, the speedboat was taking her away back to shore. I was expecting to see them pick her up and throw her into the water, and then him looking on something like, you think you can just leave, or you think you can just, because I understand he's been doing this business for years. He has not been doing this business for years by letting somebody go that can go back and report or something, I don't know. So the fact that he let her go, like, and these men who work with him, obviously there's trust between them. They also look surprised to see the things that he was doing. Okay, yeah, I hear you. So I guess I'm out of time. But yeah, those were the issues I had. Well, some of the issues I had with this movie.
All right, thanks, Bill. I'm sure we'll hear all of it on your YouTube, where you will, I imagine, drop this review for us.
Tomorrow.
Hey,
You
that's
are fast,
quick
man.
quick turnaround. Thank you. All right. I think we have Otas. Yeah.
Hi. All right. So I want to start again by saying I love this movie. But it wasn't perfect by any means. For one, I thought Abe being the survivor was unearned. I found him to be a little cowardly. He had no grits the entire movie. I just don't know how he became James Bond in the end. So that did bother me. Um Agapi kind of disappears in this movie, both in speech and in I I don't know. It's like they just never mention him again. He never matters again. The Russian, Spanish, American, whatever he is, guy, just being willing to accept that he had no hand in it, just with a phone call, just seemed completely. As a savvy businessman, I don't know that it was reasonable to expect that he would just confess on a phone call. It just seemed very, very, very lazy. Everyone has talked about the death scenes. I won't go into it, but his final, the Russian guy being his death scene was just prolonged and comical, even outside the smoke issues and all the other conveniences. He was literally in a small box. Instead of staying there looking for him, I didn't understand why he didn't just leave and call for backup. That just seemed like the most reasonable thing to do. I don't know why they were acting like they were stuck in that box. It was like someone sealed them in there and they couldn't get out, and I was so confused by it. It was very unearned, I guess, for the spectacle. But we see all the other depths of the quote unquote bad guy, somewhat plausible, usually in battle where it's like survival, fight, or be killed. And this one was just a joke. I do think the non-Nigerian actors were very poor at first, but I will say that they do pick up in acting when it's time to kill the niggas. It's a joke, but they definitely seemed to relax more as the movie went on, and it was time to start killing people. And then their acting seemed to get a little bit more fluid, but it definitely starts out very, very stiff. Um, Degwe being a member of the resistance and giving up the whole team at first sign was very weird for me because he's fighting this battle. I think he knows sort of the importance of not just giving up your hideouts because it would have made more sense, I think, if it was one of the brothers, possibly the younger brother, who generally didn't seem to understand the concept of togetherness. But Degbe sort of understood it outside of the half breed nonsense, which he did tend to put aside when it came to survive. But I think I got his motivation got a little lost for me as far as like his character development. Um, why was the captain tied? Who was sailing the boats? I don't know. There's no really understanding of how much time passed in this. And then there's also a lot of convenience used here. In the market, when the dad is looking for him, how convenient is it that his money falls and then he has to bend down and pick it up? Again, in the end, when the dad is looking for him again, where he just misses him by like 10 seconds, it just was just very interesting, a very interesting way to use convenience in that manner. Considering no one had a phone on the shipping dock, how did Abby's family come find him? How did Bowman reach his family to bring him their stuff? There's really no establishment for that. And the time thing is a big one because we don't know if one day has passed. We don't know if 10 days has passed. We don't know anything. We don't know when they run out of food. We don't know how long they have left to get to their destination. We don't know how long since they left Lagos. Everyone is just kind of on the boat, just vibing. Um, and yeah, I don't know, but those were my main bads.
All right. Thanks, Tess. I was surprised you had any, to be honest, but you went in. All right. Mrs. C, do you want to tell us some of the issues you had before we go into push?
Before we do yours and Pushback. Okay. So, my issues with this film, I'm gonna say my mom's main bad, which is the Ijo. But I don't really get to criticize it because my age was not good either. But I do remember screaming corrections at the very first word that was said in the film. The narration opened with a poor pronunciation. Even I caught that. But sure. My second bad, this is a specialist curse thing. Abe as a name. Abe is like, hey, you boy. And it threw me off every time they called him Abe. And I realized that was actually his name and they're not just looking for him and trying to call him. Also, Jide Kenneth's acting, I really did not like. Because again, and I know I mentioned like the woman with the Akwa Ibom accent and, melting pot and all that. But Jide Kenneth was supposed to be like a son of the soil. We're fighting for our land. And every time he spoke English, he had a strong Igbo accent. Every time he tried to do the Port Harcourt pidgin, it felt forced. And every time he spoke Ijaw, it was butchered. So every word that came out of his mouth threw me completely throughout the whole film. So that was not pleasant for me. So again, they've talked about time. Time as a concept doesn't exist here, which was very concerning for me throughout. Because again, this is something that is time sensitive, right? They're locked, they have no food, they have no water. It's time sensitive. And the fact that we don't mention time at all, or we have no concept of it, was really off-putting. This film... My favorite part of this film was when they were in the town, in the village, in, Nimbi. Once they leave, it becomes, I think I told Mr. C when we were watching it, we've entered the second film. Not the second act, second film. Because this is another film that is happening here, right? We've switched tones, we've switched story, we've switched stakes, we've switched all this, right? And then I don't even understand everyone being on that boat, right? It's just, let's start from there. The story itself, I don't get them all being on that boat. We've seen reason why they need to leave, right? But why do they need to be on the boat? The two brothers coming from Emerengi, yes, they want to go abroad, right? The rest of these people just need to leave Nimbi. It was as simple as getting on Keke, right? Okay, maybe they needed to take water instead, right? Maybe army is, blocking somewhere. But those brothers came in from, it really wasn't hard where they were going. Those brothers with them on the boat, they're not from that town. They came with Keke. So the two freedom fighters did not need to be in the bottom of a boat heading to God knows where to get away from the army in Nimbi. They could have gone anywhere else. Abe and his sister also did not need to, and his girlfriend, did not need to be on that boat heading to God knows where. Right? So it's already them being on the boat it throws me off, but whatever. We get on the boat and we now have Ego as our villain, right? Again, we've moved from freedom fighters protesting oil, we've moved from the army being the thing, we've moved from this person's father being, the antagonist. We now have Ego. And then I don't understand Ego, right? It's not enough to be a corrupt oil smuggling, crazy person. He's now a murderer. Okay, sometimes doing killings comes with the territory. No. He's not just a murderer. He is a sadist who enjoys torturing people. Okay, just let the villain breathe, right? We can't have, he can't be everything all at once, but he is. And I don't buy this villain. I don't get this villain, and he's throwing me. I'm not going to talk about Abe turning into James Bond because I think that has been mentioned, and I think more people are going to mention it as well. But I also don't understand the motivation to make a big song and dance out of it, right? Except, he's a sadist, right? Because we shoot that first guy straight in the head immediately. Degbe is shot in the head, right? They could be spies. Spies for who? What kind of spies? Spies for the whole spy angle makes no sense. You could just kill them, throw them overboard.
Spies
but no,
for your love.
Spies. See. Anywho, the motivations threw me. Igor as a villain threw me, right? The 2 to 3 different films within this film threw me. And by the point that Igor couldn't find Abe in a small room, at the point where Abe was moving like a ghost and slashing him, reminiscent of, I don't know, anime or whatever, right? At the point Abe became like an anime hero, moving and slashing in that small room. All they had to hide him was Nama. I had to chuckle. I'm not feeling emotional. I'm chuckling, right? All the relationships, everyone waving to him at the end, goodbye, right? The only thing that makes sense is Oyin, right? Only thing that makes sense is Oyin. Everyone else, it's just, when did we build these relationships? How much time have we had? When have we built? We only have one little bit of bonding with Digbe when he has a nightmare, right? When have we had a chance to build this relationship between him and these people that they are waving him goodbye while he goes on to live a new life as he's reminiscing on their beautiful time spent together, bonding in the ship? Mm-hmm. And yes, and also Oyin, again, only woman on there, and she's just a pregnant attaché whose death is going to continue gingering the protagonist to kill Igor, because that is
she wasn't
progress. At least no, but she was pregnant. It's just just woman motivation. Let's go, take it and go, because that's it. She's just there to be pretty and die. That's fun. But yeah,
there's a big problem. Those are not problems for us. I bet we have bigger problems. Anyway, all right. So some of mine, I'll try not to repeat some of the things that have been said. Sound. I don't know if people mentioned sound. I thought sound was not great at a few places. There was a few ADR, and the ADR is not generally bad by our standards, right? It's not the worst, but it's noticeable in some places, especially when it comes to speaking Ijo, which I get understandable. Probably some people didn't get some of the words correctly at the time, but some of it wasn't great. Some of the sound, I think I remember some screaming that was just, that's the kind of one you just throw again and you record a new sound, but they left it in there and they tried to fix it, and it didn't come out nice. But there was a few sound issues. Mrs. C, it's touched on this, but hopefully I put a pretty bow around it. Igor's motivation is just all over the place. It doesn't make sense if he is a kidnap. It feels like, oh, he's just a guy who wants to smuggle some oil, right? It seems like that. All right, that's the thing. All right, take some muscle with you, but you're not there for war. They're having a good time. In fact, he's having sex with, he's having sex with, I think, prostitutes. I'm not sure, sex workers. He's having sex, having a good time, eating and whatever. It seems like just a regular. Even like I agree with Timmy said, I don't know why he'd be the one on there. And then he notices people on, and he's trying to figure out if they're spies. I don't know why. I'm not sure where we're going with that. If they're spies, what do? You kill them. If they're not spies, apparently you still kill them. It's like, it seems like, I don't understand. But he kills one, right? And then he just imprisons the other. To which, why are you imprisoning some and killing the rest? What's the logic? What's driving any of this here? And then sometimes, like Mrs. C said, he'll skin someone, and this is it's enough that it's not just confusing that he's keeping these people as prisoners. It's just it's counterproductive to his actual goals. So when he gets stopped at all these ports, his ship gets searched, and you don't want to see prisoners being tied up. It's I don't understand I just don't understand. Yeah, it costs him extra money in Cape Verde. I don't understand what motivate. I don't understand. It just seems like a very bad
okay, it's just a very bad character. I didn't buy the acting either. So like for me, the antagonist was just from top to bottom, just bad, just bad. Um, eh, anyway, so putting here random juju. I think Mrs. C, you didn't talk about random juju. It seemed like you didn't like because like we didn't start with, well, we didn't. I mean, like it's technically juju, isn't it? Like we start off with. She's from the river. Well, yes, she's from the river. She's from the river. I'm like, it's easy to miss, but we didn't start. We didn't start. Please don't talk during my time. All right, I'll move you to the audience. Not even must change. During the we don't start with any hint of there's going to be anything mystical about any of this, but we think we're watching a normal movie. The one place where they give a slight hint is with the snake. But you might just think, oh, that's just like a lore about something. And it's this thing where what they have done by doing this reveal is like, I guess they wanted to, I don't know why, I guess they wanted to make it twist. But for me, it would have just been better to have known that information firsthand, because what you would have created is tension to see, hey, is this going to be, is this going to come to effect? Like it would have created more tension and anxiety about what would have happened going on. Sort of like a better version of what we're doing with the snake. But like, something that I'm not sure has been discussed. The message of this is so simplistic, is useless for me anyway. It's just like, let's not fight each other, let's just hug. And like, so for somebody who is, I'm not all that familiar with the militant, some of the militant sort of destruction of oil pipes and all of that in the South. I'm not too familiar, but I'm familiar enough with it that it just rang out as a very hollow addressing of the situation. Because number one, these people like, it's like the people in the militants in these are like young people who, we don't mean to cause any harm. There's nothing in it for us. We're just doing this out of the goodness, because of what we truly believe in. It's like that's not what I understand to be some of the militant issues that have gone on with regard to blowing up oil pipelines and down south. But like, even if this is what you wanted to portray, it's like, but like, so what the message is, let's just stop fighting each other. That seems to be it, to which like, okay. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just felt it was very simplistic and missed a chance to do something with it. I thought there were a lot of, I can put, when Inigo's sister dies and the film stops to give him a moment. I don't know. The filmmaking in this generally is so cheesy, and honestly, it's just it's typical of sort of Moses' work. Moses, sometimes he'll do filmmaking, honestly, that many other directors aren't doing. Like in terms of, like, I'll give you, like I said in my good, the scene where she's escaping through the air conditioner vent. We'll give you scenes like that, but the thing about him is that sometimes like it feels like somebody who was stuck in like the 80s or the 90s, and he's the one I call it Wonder Woman from Justice League. Uchenna has better words to describe it, but that score whilst he's mourning his sister is just hilarious. It's just funny, and I don't think that's what they were going for. I have reminded people that Perry is in this film. Just because I know you've forgotten already, even though I did it at the beginning. Perry is in this film. I don't know how much time has passed, and it is. We talked about time, but this one is regarding even like Abby's returning back. Yeah. Because is it safe? Like they were chasing.
that's the thing
Yeah,
with
the
this
army
thing.
was chasing
Army
him.
were chasing you a while ago. It's like we don't know what it is. Like if it's been a while, like were you guys dying of food, or are you coming back a little too soon to a place that was trying to kill you? Yeah, I just think in general the 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 filmmaking in especially from the like 18th minute, it's just very cheesy, and in a lot of places just not good. That's the general. I'm not surprised some people, because people are gonna love whatever, but I'm love whatever, and that honestly is fine. But the filmmaking is just for me very obviously not good in the latter half of this. I mean, like, and that's where we can put a bunch of things to it, and like even there's parts of the editing that isn't great, and to be honest, I don't know what he had to work with. But there's some parts that I would have cut off at least a little bit sooner. Somebody mentioned attention to detail. This is me sneaking in a little pushback. If you want to talk about attention to detail, I'll tell you that when they were throwing a corpse out of the ship, the corpse swam straight out of this frame, which was, that's not usually what corpses do, but whatever. That's not attention to detail, though, for me. But all right. All right. So we're going to head into the pushback section. And I did want to give Olana a chance because I think she had some. Olana, do you want to? Olana,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, go on. If you had issues with the way some things, something someone else said, this is your chance, and then we'll go hands up for everyone else. Alan, are you there? You're on mute. If you wanted to say something.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, now. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, a little less clear. Are you using headphones now? Hello? Wait, is it just me?
Am I?
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back as regards the whole why were they drinking water? That's Abe and
Is it just me, or is Olana breaking? Is it me?
No, she's breaking.
Okay. Sorry.
didn't have much to do. She was just crying, and I mean, come on, if I was like a teenager and I was stuck on a ship with a boy and all those things were happening to me, I would just be crying. I would not be out here trying to be like Wonder Woman or trying to tap into my.
Sorry. All right. Okay. Let's let's try again. Olana, I don't know that your thing is working. Try coming off and going back on again.
I think he's back on. It's back
Okay.
on. Sorry, I'm having technical issues thanks to brother Elozona. Anyways, so I was talking about Oyin's role as a scared, crying baby in the entire thing. And honestly, she played the role I would have played if I was stuck on a ship with a bunch of guys and some weird, crazed Russian, Ukrainian fellows trying to kill me. I would actually be crying and just looking to the boyfriend that brought me on this ship. So I didn't have issues with her role in that sense. I didn't expect her to be to evolve into anything more than what she was in the movie. The part about her, she had a fever at some point. What happened to the fever? I mean, if somebody got shot in front of me, my fever would disappear. So I understood the whole fever disappearing thing. The brothers, Tekena and Olotu, where the Tekena gets his whole resentment from Olotu. Honestly, from the beginning of the movie, when their mother was talking to them, you could just feel like there was the whole idea that Tekena was a little reluctant, was not as close to the mother. So the whole resentment part of Tekena's situation, I could see how we got to that part, because even from the beginning, from when the mother called him, I was like, won't you come and tell me goodbye? You could just feel like he felt maybe not part of the family per se, or just not as loved, let's say, as his more perfect brother. So the part about him saying, "Oh, you would do something, and then I would be playing for it," maybe the scripting in that scene could have been better, in the sense that maybe instead of saying those words, it could have been more of a you are the perfect son, and the guy that I'm the one that's always looked at as the bad kid. I understood the sentiment he had in that scene. However, maybe the words used were wrong. And then the part about Debe, why was Debe, the freedom fighter, so quick to rat out his crew? To be honest, from the beginning, Debe did not seem much into freedom fighting. He's like those people that follow their friends to science class initially, and then they throw them into art class. So probably his freedom fighting was because Boma, his friend, was a freedom fighter, and he was just a tag along guy. The scene where he had to throw the whole the Russian, the whole bomb thing, the fire and all that. That's first scene. When he threw it, he was in shock at first. It was Boma that had to come and pull him. So you could just tell he never really had the heart. Also, he was in a state of hunger, and he was just happy that these people were welcoming him and all that. So Debe being the guy to rat them out was expected in that sense, because his character had always seemed like not too solid a character, will I see. And let me see what else. The why did Oyin go off with her boyfriend? Why was she so in love with this guy that she forgot she forgot about her little Obanji story? Honestly, she was a young girl. She's a teenager. She didn't care. It happens to a lot of young teenagers. They do stuff recklessly. They don't really care when they think they found the love of their life. So I didn't think that her character in that sense was doing too much, because, of course, people do stupid stuff when they're in love. There's that. Um. So yeah. I think those are the main things I could. Yeah, those are the main things I could just come up with. Yeah.
All right. Before we move on to anyone else's pushback, if there's somebody that was responded directly to that wants to say something about that.
So I do want to say, because she mentioned briefly about Degbe and him not being the most. He was very much a committed fighter. I don't know. I feel like there's a huge leap between wanting to fight for freedom and even wanting to burn down an whatever that was, oil depot, and murder. So I think it was very clear that he didn't want to kill anyone. He was stunned that someone died, and he was stunned to watch someone burning. And if you've ever seen someone burning, it's very much a sight that keeps you still. If your response is in that way. However, like, if he's been organizing with Boma, he knows how organization works. It wouldn't make sense for him to rat out the group.
All right. And then Atas, did you have?
Yeah. So I had pushback for Uchenna. I think Uchenna was the main culprit, but it came up a couple other times, specifically the comparison to Deadly Voyage. And I feel like that is an unearned comparison. In fact, at some point, I started doubting my own knowledge of the movie. There have been some similarities that were mentioned apparently with some of the shots that were taking, but that's neither here nor there. However, there's no similarity in the story. The only similarity being that they are stowaways. There's no similarity in the writing. There's no similarity in the background stories of each of the stowaways. The only other slight similarity is that they're on a Russian ship and people die, which is a common theme in stowaway movies. So I don't feel like that they were on a Russian ship and they had stowaways is enough to say that this movie is a copy of Deadly Voyage with no other crossings. But that was my major pushback. The rest of them, Alana covered. I don't think teenagers need a reason to be unreasonable in love. That's literally the whole. Come on, man. We've seen Romeo and Juliet. They don't need a reason. And I think a lot of the responses about the genre, I think it stays sort of around one genre, but it does seem to genre bend a bit. However, I don't know that's neither here nor there.
Okay, no, I don't actually even. I'm not sure I'm one of the people that would have made the to like why would they do this thing because they're young, but like my ear is a bit sensitive to like young and stupid, or this person's either too stupid or in a place that makes them they're stupid, and so sometimes people do stupid things, but I while saying that I appreciate like yeah sure young people. I guess I'm just saying that sometimes it's a bit much for some people. And me, I don't know, like, except if Oyin didn't believe in Oyin didn't needed not to believe in the story to have made it work, because it doesn't make any sense. If she's going to be, if it's going to be serious consequences for her being with a man, what's the point? I mean, like,
it's more like a half belief, though. It's like Christians who have premarital sex. It's like, sure, in the back of your head that there's some retribution, but in the moment of falling in love and finding passion and sort of feeling like it's us against the world, I feel like
that one, there's a chance to. I think everyone just kind of they just have in the back of their head that they're going to repent before they die, right?
Yeah, I think that's different.
Yeah, it's different from an immediate consequence. It's not, if you have premarital sex, you're going to be struck dead in like a week.
Yeah. Also, like, her thing was, yeah. That's the thing. I think people aren't hoping and thinking, oh, damn, the consequences is going to be fine. Yeah. They're thinking, I'm going to be okay because I'm going to repent at some point.
I'm going to beg for forgiveness. It's going to be chill.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to beg for forgiveness.
I was a Christian who had premarital sex. I did not even think at any point in my time that I was going to repent. All I could think of in that moment is that I wanted
look at you. Look at you.
Like, that's all that mattered. You're not thinking of your upbringing in that moment necessarily. Like, it's just passion.
It's you in hell every week for me, though.
All right. Okay. I think Pearl was the second person to put her hand up.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to push back first to one or two things that Alana said. The first one was that Oyin couldn't have done more where she was there, and it was couched almost like, yeah, she couldn't be doing any super hero type things, so it was fine for her to cover and cry throughout the movie. But I don't think the idea is that she should have done anything heroic within those quarters, because, like, you're right, there wasn't that much to do. The story itself did not provide much to do. But the main point here is not what she did or did not do within the confines of where the story put her, is the fact that the story itself did not regard her enough to treat her as a person in order to give her a storyline where she could have had something to do. So you could be right in saying that she couldn't have done something within the story that she was put in, but why was she put in that story in the first place? Why was her character created to serve this man first and then eventually all of these men? She was just there as, I mean, I guess you could say, maybe if you want to go all like meta, whatever, you could say stories are important and she was some kind of custodian of stories or stuff like that, because she was sharing all this wisdom that apparently these guys did not know, even if most of them were from the same community. But beyond telling tales, she just existed in this world to cry. She didn't do much. And again, we're not talking about her not doing like superhero things. We're talking about the fact that the character was not treated as a character. It was created primarily to be adjacent to serve Abby's character. So that's the problem with her character. And as a result of that, her story. And then also Olana again saying that you understand what Tekena felt in that moment. I don't know. We all have like family feuds, right? We all have like moments of like sibling rivalry. We all have times when we felt like our parents maybe treated one sibling better than the other, or we were like treated as the black sheep. Because there was a time that in my family I was the black sheep. Ha at the waka, like they'll find me in my neighbor's house, I'll come back, they'll beat me like I was that child, and of course, at some point you start to feel a type of way like nobody in my family loves me or anything. We have a family member that has expressed that kind of sentiment from time to time, also because of the things that they do. Anyway, I guess all I'm saying is these are normal things that happen in families, especially like Nigerian families. There's a huge leap from that to saying you suddenly understand fighting your brother to the death. Your brother, you're suddenly ready to wield. We're not saying like just go sleep poison in his drink when he's sleeping, and if you do that you will survive, something like that. We're talking about you like literally you're ready to slash and stab and all the things in cold blood in real time your brother. I don't think you really thought about like what it means to actually kill a person and your brother, because you just felt like he has always been the good one, and nah, no, it didn't work. It didn't work. And then what was this other one now? Okay, yes, there was someone I can't remember who had said that Oyin just being on this ship, she didn't have to be on the ship and she just went because of Abe. As much as I agree that her story was not independently important, as far as specifically her getting on the ship, I think it had transcended the love story into protection for her baby. Again, I blame the story for forgetting about the pregnancy, because at some point I stopped seeing her as Abby's girlfriend. She was now a woman who has a life to protect beyond herself. So I fully understood her trying to get herself out of a dangerous situation because she was carrying precious cargo, So it wasn't just herself anymore. She had, and her father was going to abort that baby, So I got with that and I didn't have a problem with that. Then I didn't like the Igbo landing story. It didn't fit in this world. It had nothing, and I don't think that show. I don't think that telling a story because it tracks somewhere in a story that you're going to tell in the future and something about a universe. What universe? Avengers? Which one? Like, no, please. This story was out of place here. And then finally, somebody said that this movie was slow burn. It was slow, that's sure, but burn, it did not burn. It didn't burn, and all the opportunities for the burn just were not utilized at all. They just did not use. There was so much setup, and this is a consistent problem I have with our movies, where we do so much setup and then we forget to come and take our paycheck. Like, how do you set up so much? Like, you give yourself so many opportunities for emotional impact, and then when you're supposed to use them, you don't. It's always so interesting to me, because for me the setting up is the difficult part, but when you've done that hard labor of setting up, please take your payoff, but we don't do it. So anyway, yeah, that's my pushback.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Pearl.
Timmy, did you catch your sub that they tied all the loose ends?
Sorry, before
So
Timmy comes
good.
on to say, hold on. I just want to say, Pearl, I'm seconding the thing about the Igbo landing. I thought it was incredibly lazy to put the Igbo landing in when we've all commended them for doing, like, using a different tribe, a different language, a different, Nigerian ethnic group, and then you go for the Igbo landing. I get it, it's a thing that's big and impactful, but it's so incredibly lazy to use it against this backdrop. Can you not come up with something else that is going to tug at people's hearts from it? Also, I think you're pushing back to me on saying Oyin didn't need to be on that boat. I said the brothers, I understood them needing to be on that boat because that was always their plan. But the remaining 4 people, right, the 2 freedom, Boma, Degbe, Oyin, and Abe, did not need to be on that boat, in my opinion. They needed to leave, yes, but there's a difference between fleeing your village that again can be fled on keke and going on a voyage as a stowaway to be an illegal immigrant, God knows where. There's a huge difference, and it's not a decision you make on a whim.
Yeah, she agrees. She gave the 100. All right. I think it is. I think it was Uchenna, but we did. Timmy, I'm just going to give Timmy. Timmy, what did you? Because they addressed you. I don't know whether you wanted to.
So first of all, I want to push back against, not push back, but like give context to what I've forgotten his name, but the Indian dude, what he said about the gas coming from Abbey. Yeah, in that scene we see a shot where Abbey picks up a fire extinguisher, so that is where the gas came from. Second, there was somebody who made mention about Oyin not
Wait, sorry.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. I don't think that's the gas he was talking about. Abe literally opened a valve on the floor that was letting out some gas, which was when Maiji Igor couldn't see him again.
And the gas was
oh,
somehow only affecting Igor and not affecting Abe at all.
okay. Sorry, I must have mixed that
Thank
up.
you guys.
But
It was the gas was stupid. They didn't know what it was doing. It could have done anything. To be honest.
so about Oyin being on the ship and in the story, I feel like even if Oyin wasn't going to do like acrobatics and Wonder Woman stuff, at the beginning they literally said that this was going to be a love story. So they literally missed an opportunity. I think it was Pearl that was making mention of internal conflict. That was exactly what they could have used her for, internal conflicts between what's their name? Abe and Oyin. And if for I don't know how, I do not want to like tell the writer how to do their job, but if they could have gone from um conflicts um, between their relationship and somehow they find a way to like make it affect everybody on the ship, that would have made more sense, and that would have given her a whole lot more relevance to the story rather than just being there on the sidelines crying. Another thing is about the Tekena thing. If you feel like you are not a part of the family, or if you feel like people are paying more attention to someone else in the family, I really do not see why you would think it makes sense to now follow that person you are beefing against to go on a journey you know nothing about. So you're basically trusting your life with this person that you do not like. And if you're going to be honest, Tekena might want to prove that, oh, he's the whatever, most mature, whatever, but he's still a baby. He is still a baby. Because I remember there was a scene where I think they were eating when Igor called them up to eat. Tekena was scared of eating, but he had to look at his brother first to see if his brother was eating before he was confident enough to also eat out of the food. So basically, basically to me, his character did not make sense. And my last pushback would be to Nollywood Must Change, who was talking about how they copied so and so. Personally, I feel like films copy off each other, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with copying from a particular director or from a particular film. If you see that, oh, you like so and so concept and you want to put it in your own film, go for it. I just feel like what wouldn't make sense is when you do a verbatim copy and paste as per plagiarism. If you feel like there's something a director was able to pull off well, or there's a premise that a premise a writer was able to do well, and you decided to copy it and put your own twist to it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you on that, to me, like in with copy, but I haven't seen the film. I think Uchenna is the one who's made one of the people who's made a reference to a particular film. It could be that it's quite close, but also Otas says she remembers it not being that close. Right. So yeah. No, I'm just giving my opinion on this. Like, yes, I agree with you. Like, you can borrow. In fact, like, it's one of the things I encouraged way back when this was before we started doing reboots and sequels. Is that I thought we should actually steal, like, shamelessly steal, and just try to make it for us. But I think one of the issues keep on being like we keep on stealing stuff that we keep on, like
I feel like we're copying somebody's name inside our answers, and that's the issue. Is that that's the part we need to stop. It doesn't. It's not. There's some things that are not quite clicking. You better come take a look at this. Okay. I was like, yeah. All right. Uchenna.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on Atas about the Deadly Voyage thing. I think it's absolutely inspired by Deadly Voyage. Of course, there are differences in the details. There was not a woman in Deadly Voyage. There are a lot of things. The Delta struggle, obviously, they're going to add some local details. But the basic concept and the look of it is definitely from Deadly Voyage. One of the differences being that Deadly Voyage is much better written.
Which
For example,
concept do you think is from Deadly Voyage?
sorry?
Specifically. Which concept specifically do you think is from Deadly Voyage?
6 stowaways from West Africa in a Ukrainian ship, and the guys in the ship try to kill them. Now, but the difference with Deadly Voyage is that there's a real motivation in that the guys on the ship are concerned that if they come to dock with these stowaways, they're going to be seriously fined and all of them will lose their jobs. And they even say, if we get fired back in Ukraine, we won't be able to get any jobs and we'll become as poor as these Africans. And they're just N-words anyway, so we have to kill them. And it's something that they have to deliberate upon and really decide that this is what we're going to do. Unlike this Igor guy, who for some reason is a psychopath. Like has already been said, okay, sure, we're fine. He's a criminal. He steals oil, whatever. Why is he a psychopath? I mean, not even just randomly shooting people, but he has a whole Hannibal Lecter room full of surgical forceps and syringes and stuff like that. Is he a serial killer? Is this something he does often? Why does he even have those things? Why does he have that room? And then he says, oh, well, his dad taught him how to skin animals. You don't skin animals with surgical scissors. You don't skin animals with syringes full of whatever it is. So I was like, why is this guy a psychopath? Because he is. That's what we want the story to do. So that's what we're just going to do. And I agree with Pearl that they had the opportunity to set up Igor's psychopathy. Like, I too expected that he was going to kill that girl when she got back on the boats, but I don't know. It just came out of nowhere with him. I think I'm going to agree with Mr. C. No, it wasn't Mr. C. Somebody said somewhere, maybe it was Mr. C, but somebody said something about a lot of these Nollywood filmmakers seeming like their models are from the 1990s. Oh, well, Moses specifically. And I've said that this is the case with a lot of Nigerian filmmakers. And this is where I agree with Mr. C. I'm not against people copying. People keep on saying, well, we've got to make Nigerian stories. We shouldn't be imitating. I'm like, no, imitation is fine. But, we need better models to imitate from, because these people seem to be imitating movies from the 80s and the 90s and like the cheapest kind of movies from the 80s and the 90s. Let me see. I had some other pushback on. Let's push back on here. Okay, yeah, I want to thank Nolly Goodfellow for bringing my attention to the gas thing. That Abe. I mean, I saw that he did that. I didn't understand the point of it, but now I understand that's supposedly why he became invisible. It wasn't well. It wasn't well presented, obviously, because the room was still fully lit and very easy to maneuver around. I don't know why this guy suddenly became invisible. I thought that was a magic thing, and I'm fine with magical realism. I feel that, and here's where I disagree with Mr. C. I feel that the movie did set up many opportunities for magical realism, from the fairy tale beginning to all Oyin stories talking about river goddesses and whatnot. So I felt that if at the end this guy had magical powers, I would have been fine with it, except for the fact that that wasn't set up. Oyin was the one who was supposedly married to a river spirit. If she had the powers at the end, I would have been cool with it. I don't know why Abe suddenly had the power to turn invisible. So that was pretty weird. But there were a lot
Uchenna,
of things.
let me even say something here about that gas. I don't know if anyone really understood what was happening in that scene. And I said this like a joke in the comments, but that gas was acting like a paralytic or something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
Igor was looking kind of weird. His hands were hanging kind of weird. He got red. It's like he got blind, deaf, and dumb. Everything was just happening to him. But worthy of note is that everything was happening only to him. Abby just seemed
Yes.
fine. And Abby is the person that he had just received two very severe beatings before this point. How come he was fine, flitting around up and down the place, while Igor was looking like the gas just crippled him and blinded him and did all manner of things to him in 5 seconds? That whole thing was so fucking strange. I did not understand any of it.
Yeah. And I'll agree with. Apart from that, I agree with Otas that that Abe was not heroic. He spent most of the movie just cowering in the corner, and that's part of the reason why I don't think this was a love story. And I didn't find his love with Oyin too inspiring. I didn't see him like overcoming great odds for the love in that way. Oh yeah, and then the half
I
breed
haven't seen
thing.
any great audio overcame for me. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean the half breed thing. That's another thing that I said. Okay, if this guy has superpowers at the end, I thought that they were going to tell me that they call him a half breed because he's half spirit or something. Again, I would have been fine with that. But they kept on going on and on and on about this half breed thing as if it was something that was going to be significant or important for some reason, and it really wasn't. But and okay, one last thing. That whole thing with Perry, I think I saw somewhere that he's a producer on the movie or something. So maybe they just threw him in because his whole scene, apart from not making sense narratively, just the whole thing felt thrown together. Where Abe comes with the axe and goes, and he opens up the door. Like that is a self-locking electronic door, and as we've seen earlier, those doors seem to be alarmed. I don't know what the hell he was hacking at. How he managed to open up the door, and we're supposed to believe that maybe him getting the captain is going to be a turning point. That the captain is going to bring some sort of massive change that turns the tables. But we don't see him again for any real reason, except for throwing the bodies into the ocean. Oh yeah, that's one other thing. That's another thing I'm gonna push back on. I don't know who said this. I think a few people have said it. That the ties to the culture of these people being thrown into the water. I don't agree with that because at least the way the Igbo landing story was told, and also what I know about riverine cultures, it's not uncommon to bury people at sea. But your body being thrown ignominiously into the water after you've been shot in the head is not a thing of dignity. It's a thing of shame. It's a disgraceful death for you to be shot in the head and then thrown into the water without a respectable funeral. So I don't think those people were. I don't think that represented the culture of returning to the sea. The Igbo landing people, they walked into the sea of their own volition because they saw the sea as their mother. They were alive and they went into the arms of their mother. They weren't shot and then thrown over into the water like dirty carcasses. So that part didn't work for me either. I'll stop there.
So I will say, Uchina, that it seems like the fixation on the six stories is where the comparison to Deadly Voyage is coming from. Because stowaway stories typically have any number of people stowed away, whatever that number is.
You don't
And
think the
Deadly Voyage.
Ukrainian Russian thing is a coincidence?
No, because Deadly Voyage is based on a real story, right? Where like, I think it was 8 or 9 stories were on a Russian ship, and that seems to be more what these movies are paying homage to, as opposed to paying homage to Deadly Voyage. And I don't know whether it's a 6 stowaways there and the similarities that's making people draw that similarity, but on a stowaway ship, I don't know any stowaway ship movies where the captain will not kill the stowaways. The way this movie chooses to do that is a different story. However, it just feels a little bit like a reach to say that Deadly Voyage is what inspires this movie. It could be any number of stowaway
I'll
movies.
say this. I'll say this. Maybe it's a bit of an over exaggeration for me to say it's a complete ripoff, but I'd be willing to bet almost anything that they had that movie in mind when doing this. Even just when I saw the poster, that's the first thing I thought. Like the look of the movie seems to be modeled on Deadly Voyage.
And that's fair because some of the shots are similar to some of the shots in Deadly Voyage, which again I think is a. I find that shots are fair game when you are referencing another story that you may have liked. However, you said earlier that the story, it wasn't you actually, I think it was Nollywood, one of the Nollywoods, who said earlier that they couldn't rate the story because it was a ripoff of Deadly Voyage. And there's no similarities between the stories being told other than there being 6
No, I
stories
would not. I would
in
never
the
say that.
story.
There's nothing wrong with being inspired by another thing. I'm not holding against it the fact that I feel that it's inspired by Deadly Voyage. That's not a problem. My problem with it is that it's just as Mr. C said. See, I can give Mr. C credit, Pearl. Just as Mr. C said, we're copying people's answers and copying their name. Now, the story of Deadly Voyage is set in 1992. And this movie also feels like it's set in 1992. Like I said, nobody seemed to have a phone, which would have completely changed the story if they had phones. And it just seemed as if they were just taking Deadly Void so literally that they didn't even really bother to think about how to set it in a contemporary environment.
Sorry, but if they're
But
telling the
can I
story of
just
the oil crisis, I just don't see how they would be telling it in a contemporary environment. That just seems, again, this is why I say there's a lot of pushback that just seems nitpicky. They're telling, if the story starts out from when the oil crisis is happening, which is around that time period, it does make sense to me that they're intersecting sort of with that ship from a real life story that happens in 92 in
So
that
are you
way.
saying that you think this story took place in 1992?
I think the story takes place in the 90s. I just don't know what time
Oh,
period.
there's a
Again, this
phone in here.
story
There's a
plays
mobile
past
phone.
on the
That's
missing
another
time.
There's a
problem.
mobile phone
There's
in here.
mobile phones
This
Time
There's a
time
mobile
is
movie,
phone
so
in here.
abstract. We have no
the
idea when
movie
any of this
plays
stuff is
very
happening.
fast on this with time, like very, very fast on
So
this.
There's a mobile
there's
phone.
yeah,
mobile
Phone in,
phones here.
so it can't
there
be
was a
90.
But they're
reference to
very
the
few and
The
far
phone is
between, though.
the phone
There
The
are
is
There,
mobile
Synopsis
phones.
has its
There
own
yeah,
there are
language.
keke, na pep. There's all
there
kinds of
was
things.
a
yeah, there's
reference
CK
there
as
was a
well.
reference to there,
The reference to what?
there was a reference to massacre.
To what?
No, I didn't hear
There
any.
was a reference to the Odi massacre, and the Odi massacre was sometime in
Yeah,
one.
In the
It couldn't have been
yeah.
in the
When
90s.
Obasanjo's
Was
yeah,
sometime
Obasanjo's
in,
president,
yeah, the
yeah.
2000s.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, no, but that's an issue. Yeah, it's just for me the biggest issue of this film was the filmmaking aspect. Would I wouldn't actually, but if I'm going to give a writer a pass on any film, I mean, like it's going to be this film because I think this film there's one credited writer, but Charles Okpaleke is the original story. I think story contributor and
story editor.
story editor. My guy has, and not just him, it's him and I think three other producers. And the reason why I say this is that like there's obviously a lot of producers' hands inside the development of this story. So this does. I'm not surprised that this feels like a film that was forwarded by that was like seems like it's running on the engine of producers because there are a lot of let's put it all in this ship, and let's do this and have. It's crazy. Like this film has in the beginning, this film has set someone on fire, right? And it's worse than Rattlesnake set someone on fire in their film, still done by Play Studios. But I guess they decided to do it with CGI, and it just looks terrible. I don't know why we would regress in that aspect of the filmmaking. There's just so much of the filmmaking in this that is so and because it's trying as well, right? It's trying to do something, but like it's failing so hard at so many points. It's just difficult to see past a bunch of things. All right, Ainka.
Yes. I have a few pushbacks. Look, this movie at the point where that what's it called? The anaconda or whatever came around it, I was just like, okay, there's going to be a lot of convenience in this movie. But I will go with it. You know me. I follow the right out wherever you want to follow me, take me to. So why are they on the ship, right? I I get what Mrs. C is saying, and she does every point. But like we needed them all to be on that ship. And a good reason why within the story is that the opportunity was just there. There were people that were going to go on the ship. You had to leave anyway. And if this person had an opportunity to go to Iloimbo, and you think the white man, they keep on saying the white man land. Then I realized they said Brazil. I was like, Brazil is not necessarily, but okay. Eh? There's the Japa going on. You Japa. It's a time of opportunity. I'm not finished speaking. It's a time of opportunity. You can push back later. I'm not finished. I waited. I was patient. Oyin, I do feel like they are right that Oyin was at a certain point there for the boy, but I feel like in that criticism, we lose something. Oyin does do something. Oyin chooses to love despite knowing she might die. Oyin chooses to be brave. Oyin makes a very big decision. Oyin keeps choosing Abby. And I know somebody asks, why does Oyin love Abby? Well, Abby has proven through some true actions that Abby, we don't need to see the backstory. We can see that Abby seems to love Oyin, and Abby seems to be a good guy generally. There's a reason that is good enough, logical enough to say that's the reason why Oyin probably falls in love with Abby. Abby is a good guy, and Abby sacrifices for Oyin. It's there. Um, it's there within the storyline. You don't need to. I don't think you need a backstory because then it will be longer and they don't know what to do with it. Um, Now, I think the villain. I agree with China. The guy's a psychopath. But here is the something. This is now going just to like representation in writing and everything. Sometimes it may not be logical. I don't know why people keep going logical in stories, but stories are not meant to be logical. They are meant to they're meant to go to a deeper truth, right? It's the idea that we think that, oh, the writers of the Bible actually believed those things. No, it's supposed to get to a deeper truth. I think I was just like, this man is insane. It makes no sense that he's insane like this. But then I realized something. I was like, oh, this story um is what's it called? Ego is there to be crazily maniacal, to be a challenge external to these people, external from them. And how are they going to do that? How are they going to survive it? It's basically an horror movie moment in that something. Makes no logic. Why is Jason killing anyhow? Why is
No,
that?
no, listen. I'm sorry. I'm
Let,
sorry if I.
let me
No, let me just
finish.
interject quickly. I'm
Let me
sorry.
finish. Let me finish. You can push back, please. Hold on. I agree with you. You're something. This is just an extra point. I agree with you, but this is just an extra point. But ego, another way of seeing it could be just be there as like that sort of what's it called? Is it representation, metaphor of something bigger? Because, and I know somebody said this was a character piece, and character piece means internal conflict. Not necessarily, because how the story was moved that we get to the boat and everything. These people are things outside bigger than their control pushes them. So external forces pushes them. They are dealing with things bigger than. That's also why the mythical of the god, of the goddess, and all these things. There's this thing in the philosophy in the philosophy of humans, just saying things are bigger than you. And you react in things that are bigger than you, they are more powerful than you, and you walk within the limits of it, right? That is a representation of an internal conflict put outside the person, like man versus nature. Whenever you know that famous painting of the guy, is it a romantic painting? It's a romantic painting. Of the guy on top of the just looking into the vastness of the mountains and how much bigger it is than him. And we there's a sublime there. There's something inside, but it's bigger than outside, and you're just in awe of something bigger than you, and you have to survive to that. And that's the thing that people are thinking, oh, this is like a oil a environmental movie. No, it's talking about the historical backdrop. You can use many things that happen in history as backdrop to more smaller stories that is supposed to be a representative or a deeper truth. I'm not saying this movie is doing the deeper truth, but I'm just saying usually that's what happens. I think they lost the deeper truth at some point, but I do feel like there's something there. Um, I don't think they did it very well,
Who are you
but I think
talking?
there's something there. Um, I'm not. I waited patiently.
No,
Uh,
I'm asking you to flesh out because you're saying you're not saying the movie is doing it, but you also it seems like you want to talk about through the two sides of your mouth here. I'm
yeah, yeah,
holding
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Two
Which
things can
one?
be true at the same time. Two things
Hey,
can be true at the same time.
my God.
Yes. I'm not going to go completely on one side and completely on another side because I do feel I see the points in those something. They are trying, the movie is trying to do that, but at the same time, it is like a 90s like it is like a 90s. They do copy from like 90s. In the 90s sometimes those movies are crap, but I do feel like in crap movies still are those things you still see, I'm not going to be this like, what's it called? Oh, it has to, no, no, no. You still see something because all stories convey something that is human, something in the ways that humans see it. It doesn't have to, like I say, I'm not for Jackass, is not for me, but I will say Jackass conveys something. Jackass conveys maybe the rush, like just live life, YOLO. It's something, it's still, there's a philosophy behind it. There's something connecting to humans. All stories do that.
Oh, wrap up,
Now,
madam.
okay,
Right.
wrap up, wrap up. Take a nap. I think that's ridiculous. How this? How I think the writing was ridiculous at the moment where there's something. But I get it. Your brother is, and I feel like they kind of put it in there in the very first scene that we meet the brothers. The older brother is like, "Are you sure this?" He's like, "No. Why are you questioning me? I want to do this. I'm going to do this, you know?" So there's something there. And it is ridiculous that they went to like, I hate you. But there was always a conflict of like, I want to prove myself over my brother. I want to prove myself to you. And again, they're in a life and death situation. In life and death situation, people don't think very well. We are over here. We're not in life and death situation. If we have been, yeah, people are crazy. And I know because I've read a lot of like historical things about people being from very different situations, being in life and death situations. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah. So question, how did Mr. at the end, remember, I think the end is silly, but how did he become powerful and magician? It's the power of love, y'all. The power of love. That was a stupid thing. But I was just thinking, okay, maybe it's the power of love. Um, as Oyin is dying, I think yes, Oyin going to die. We knew Oyin was going to die because that flashback where he was doing the flashback of seeing like the love and everything, and then the guy asks him, "Is this your girlfriend?" And we already know this guy is maniacal. Sometimes, like once you say yes, I love her, she's going to die. And I do agree with Ishina with saying that, like, that's that's not an honorable. Yeah, she goes back into the water. She does, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the way they throw her body into the something conveys like. I feel like that's what they want to convey, but I feel like um, whenever cultures send their dead into the water, right? They wrap them. They do things. There's other kind of like um ceremonial things that goes on before they send them into the water. But again, this situation that the story is telling us, this guy just shot him, and of course this guy is going to just throw the body into the water anyhow. And that's something that happened in the slave ships. One of the ways to like lighten your load was just to throw bodies into the water. um and I'm not saying we should compare this to slave what is happening to them to the slave ships because it's not the same. But yeah, phone. This is the thing. Everybody's talking about there should be a phone on ships. My brother is in the Navy. I don't know why he went to go join the Navy, but he's in the Navy. Um, you can't call them. When you call, like then it's just like what connection? What connection do you get on the on a stowaway on a and it's not a cruise ship. It's not a cruise ship meant to take in like passengers and all that stuff. No, this is like a reason they're not going to pay for like connection like that. Maybe there is like a
He got
special
called
room.
Mr. P though.
Oh, oh, he did. Yes, he did. Well, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
He called me P, but
Wait,
he
wait, wait,
used
wait,
this
wait.
weird,
No, no, no. He called. Oh, yes, he did. So
walkie-talkie thing. It wasn't
okay.
like a normal.
So why did the poor people? Oh, yeah, you're right. Let's cancel that one then. Thank you, Paul. You're right. So that didn't work. They should have been constant with that. I was like, okay. Um, that's really the copying thing. There's nothing original in this world. There's nothing original under the sun. You can copy, but you do need to copy well, and you do need to copy to the specificity of your culture and everything. But yeah, they watched a bunch of 90s movies and like 90s and 80s movies. And I'm so sorry. I like some of those movies because it's just about entertainment. But there's still something that even the most ridiculous entertainment something say about the human condition. no matter, it may not be very erudite for us, and I'm not saying it's erudite for me. This is not the most erudite for me, but maybe that's what the writer is trying to do. Maybe that's a way to interpret it. Maybe it's not. It's just food for thought. I'm not coming for anybody. So, Uchin, back to
Okay.
you.
All right, I just want to push back
Sorry,
really
can I
quick,
ask
really
a
quick.
question just directly?
Wait,
Me?
I just want to ask a direct question.
To me?
about
Yeah.
what?
Okay,
I
I'm
wanted
happy.
to say something. So.
Okay.
No, I just want to say that I disagree that the idea that it doesn't have to be logical. Like, I don't think it has to be logical in terms of the real world per se. Like, I keep on saying that I'm not married to realism. I don't care about realism. As I've said before, I would have been perfectly happy if at the end Abe had superpowers and killed all the Ukrainians. At least if you had given me a reason within the story why he has the superpowers. So a story doesn't have to be logical in concert with the real world, but it has to have a logical consistency within the story itself, unless it's just an abstract surrealistic art project. So I don't
I
mind
agree.
I don't mind that Igor is a psychopath, but I want to know why. I want to see some hints ahead of it, that you show me some hints that this guy has psychopathic tendencies and whatnot. It can't just come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And then even when I talk about something like, why does he want to, why is he so into killing and flailing people? Is there a reason? I'd like to know
Because
why.
they killed
So
his
and when I talk
sister.
about
It's because it's a
Yeah. Let's not rehash the bads. We've discussed that part. We've discussed that part before. Yeah. I didn't hear any. Did I? Did people push back on that, or did I? I can't remember. Anyway, but I've I muted everybody because it felt like we were about to rehash that part. All right. No. I think yes. I get what Ujana is saying. Saying like yes, movie. All it needs to do is create the rules of your film and obey them. And yes, I completely agree. And if I just don't know this film was ever going to give it to you. Like there were so many things that were just happening out of it's just that part time of the movie for it to happen. So at some point you just stop expecting it. Like Mr. P's heart attack, it's crazy. It's a crazy. I thought it was a joke. But like I mean, like if they wanted it to be real, it's just something they could have set up much earlier with just Mr. P coughing earlier when they met up and were coughing once or twice, three times, and then and then he's off. Boom, sorted. We don't have to. Oh, there we go. We set it up. But like it just holds his chest and anyway. But yeah, the movie does that. The movie is littered with stuff like that. Because again, I feel like sometimes the movie is probably was not written by a writer. But yeah, anyway. All right. I do want us to head to our summary. Here, Otas has her hand up, and then we'll do our summaries.
I mean, for moving to Summers, came into Summers. I just had pushback for China about the what's his name, Abe's lip quiver, thinking about his babe and how he had to think about how he loved her. But I think in that moment he was just recounting because he was very aware that somebody was getting killed, and it was just really hard to answer a question when you know that it ends one of two ways. But yeah, that was all.
All right. I don't actually necessarily disagree with that either. All right. Chinweke, do you want to give us your summary?
Can I just pass on like 2 months because I'm in transit?
Okay, no worries. Thank you. I will go with. We'll go with. No, this person's not here. I think Olana. Oh yeah, Uchenna actually. Uchenna.
Yeah. Okay. As I've said, I didn't like this movie at all, and which is probably obvious from all I've said. But I've seen a lot of people do like it. I understand why they like it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with liking it. It's very big. It's got good production value. It's the sort of thing that makes you proud, that makes you feel that Nollywood is going places. I understand why people like it. I think ultimately it's empty, but I dig why people like it, and I don't fault anybody for liking it. It's cool.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Uchenna. Alana. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name.
No,
Apologies. Please give us your summary.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's empty. As long as it wasn't shot in Lagos and I didn't speak any of the Wazobia languages, I'm very good with it. It was good. I enjoyed like the faults were so minor that to me, they were very minor to me compared to what I've seen, especially from Charles. That I didn't even think like I got a high five for making them watch this movie at home. So I don't know about the whole it's empty and all that, but it was a very good movie. I enjoyed it. I liked the new faces. I always enjoy seeing new faces in Nollywood. And I like that Jide did something differently. I really like Boma's character. He should call me. Aside that, yeah, it was a very, very good movie. So all around great movie, great time, great watch.
Thank you, and I do like hearing new voices. Thanks for joining us and staying with us through to the summaries. What a legend! All right, and next, I think Nollywood Must Change. Nollywood Must Change. Are you there? Timmy, do you want to give us your summary?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was. So okay, my summary, right?
Yes. Yes.
You guys, with a lot of things you guys have said, I feel like you guys don't like this movie. You were pretending you pretended you like it at first, but I realized you guys don't like this movie, but I think I just want to like this movie because I kind of enjoyed the performances, and I didn't. I think it's one of those movies I didn't kind of sleep off. I wanted to know what's next, what's gonna happen next, and so I'll just say I would recommend it. Yeah, I would recommend it. It's okay for me.
All right. Thanks. Nollywood Must Change. Timmy, do you want to give us your summary?
Yeah. First of all, hi Ibrahim Suleiman. Um, I liked this film. I actually liked this film, and you people on this space have a way of just making me move from one opinion to another. But I know that when I watched this film, I liked it. I liked it. It was just there. I liked it. But now after the space, I don't know where I stand anymore. But I wouldn't say it's a bad film. I feel like in terms of story and plot progression, it was coherent and logical to some extent. And it didn't have the usual problems that we have in the other films that we've discussed in the past. So I guess this is kind of like progress. And yeah, there's still hope for Nollywood.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. I would say like like I would say to Alana, if you want to watch the film again to get the where you actually are. But if you like the movie, please like it with your chest. Don't mind all of us here. We're just saying exactly how we
I'm
feel.
not among
That's
all
all.
of us here.
I just want to say that while Timmy was speaking, there was a second drama happening here with Ibrahim Suleiman in the middle of just saying.
Oh my God. All right. Okay. All right. Who's next? Is it Oyinka? Please give us your summary.
My summary is okay. Let me be serious. This movie is half unhinged. Wait, yeah, half unhinged and half hinged. It's grounded most of the time. We just have like the trendy psychopathic villain out of nowhere. It was nice. And a random python that got you around your neck and neck. But it's still grounded enough and like it's still very competent. It's still very entertaining. You're going to enjoy the you not everybody because people have different opinions. And as I always say, the movie is okay. Give it 30 minutes. If you don't like the movie, change it. There's a lot of movies in this world. Just lot. Incredibly amount. Change it to something. On a Sunday night, you want to relax. The main thing for a movie is to entertain you, for you to enjoy or connect to it in some way. If this one is not doing it for you, that's okay. Switch it. It's an okay movie. I think most people will be okay with it. That's it. I'm not going to tell you whether to watch it or not. That's your decision.
All right. Thanks, Oyinka. And I think Pearl.
Yes, me. Okay. Well, I'll just say that I neither enjoyed nor not enjoyed this movie. I was just kind of there. But the second time around was somehow better. I think once I knew how everything was going to play out and my expectations were wherever they were, I was probably able to relax a bit more and look at the smaller, finer details, because the second time around, I'm making a concerted effort to look for the good. So I guess I'm in that place where I can see why I might not like it as much as I could have because of all the things that were not done well. But I can also appreciate when somebody says I liked it, and I would not argue with them because I can see why. So that's kind of where I am. I did not know the thematic focus of this movie. It wasn't an immigration story per se, because those people pretty much stumbled on a ship. It wasn't a decision that was made with weighing the pros and cons and deciding out of that desperation to go ahead anyway, which is why we root for those kinds of stories. It wasn't a Niger Delta crisis story, that was just the backdrop. So, it wasn't exactly crime either. It wasn't exactly horror. It wasn't exactly corruption. It wasn't even exactly love. It wasn't even, in fact, I think the loudest theme maybe might have been brotherhood, maybe, but there wasn't much of anything else. And there were a lot of things, but they were all just kind of playing on the surface. The tension was not sustained for me. The suspense was not sustained for me. I just did not have much feeling. It was enjoyable enough just to sit in front of the TV and stare and say, okay, let's see what happens next. Oh, okay, that's what happens. Okay, cool. But I did not know the DNA of this film. I wasn't sure what the intention was exactly, beyond doing something of scale that would wow like the typical Nigerian audience, like, oh, ship on sea, big vessel, and whatever. But beyond that, I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to feel. And maybe I know what I was supposed to feel, but the work was not done to earn that feeling from me. I still cannot believe that Oyinka is here actually heatedly debating why there should not be any internal conflict with characters. But, it is what it is. So that's my summary for this film.
All right. Thanks, Pearl. Otas?
Hi. So I love this movie. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I find the first hour of this movie to be brilliant. And if I had to score just the first hour alone, it would be a strong 9 out of 10 for me. While the second half does drag it down, unfortunately, Nollywood's third out curse does show up here. However, even if I were to average both parts out, it still comes up closer to an 8. It's it did make me feel things. I don't know where you guys' hearts are. I thought the love story in here was cute and simple, and I enjoyed seeing the lovers play out their little teenage love. I enjoyed seeing how the love between the brothers and the two different brotherhoods were shown. I enjoyed all the different themes that were in this movie. I liked that it didn't just stay focused on one thing, because that's how life goes. You start on a conflict one day, and then the next day you're on a ship in the middle of the sea. I don't know what to tell you, but there is a lot of work. Obviously, if you hear from my bads, this is not a perfect movie by any means, but in the Nollywood landscape, in the Nigerian film space, it's probably one of the better movies out right now. So I would recommend it. I would watch it again. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Otas. I'm sure you like Here Love Lies. It seems.
First of all, shut up.
You cannot come for her.
Things happen. Things happen. things happen. Sometimes you're in Nigeria, and then the next thing you're in a cabin in the woods in America. It does happen.
That one was different. Please. That babe was on
I'm being a little cheeky. All right. Mui says, just got done with it. This is a while ago. Just got done with it. It started really well, and it kind of just went downhill. My tongue technology is asking some questions. How did Abe's mom know where he was? How did they survive that long without food? That scene where Igor wanted to kill Abe, but then he disappeared was just too funny. Again, I've said funniest scene of the year. Not sure about the timelines in this. All right, and the only all right, Elizabeth's gonna come on and give her summary in a bit. The only blackbird in Paris says the story ignores her. The only part where we hear her voice is when she argues with her father. Everything else after that, she just flowed with it. Her opinions, no voice, didn't matter even in her stories. Gloria says, "How did they get money to pay Mr. How they got money to pay Mr. Patrick threw me off too." And Courage says, "Abe carry Odeshi, nothing they touch him." All right. Elizabeth, do you want to give us your summary?
So, in as much as this film was the has all of these giants, weird things going on, I would say that this is the first film. Okay, I will be exaggerating, but this was probably one of the big in quotes films that did not annoy me from the onset. Probably started like, of course, I had problem with the pace, with the beats of, I don't want to use the word pace, the beats of the film. It rendered it quite genreless, but it did not annoy me because it was, as much as other large scale films this year seem to have like pretty pictures. These had like quite scenic things that I could stare at. I loved all the sunset shots, guys. I could stare at them. It didn't annoy me. The actors didn't take me out. Motivation at the surface was very clear. At the very least, at the surface, right? It was clear. People were showing up. So this is the first big budget. I'm assuming, because it's play. I did not want me to go and off myself. But it's actually quite weird. A lot of the decisions that the director took. I think I would say that it's a better film than his last outing that we watched and discussed in this club. Summary: it's not. It's at the surface. It's fine. It's okay. If you unravel it, it just falls apart like a pack of cards. Yeah. And with the old time, place, things being, apart from place, actually, every other thing was just a concept here. It's an abstract, just existing for absolutely no reason. So it's not bad. It's a good outing for all of the actors. I'm quite proud of the new faces, even Judekine himself. I won't lie, because I'm not a big fan of him, but I was quite okay here. I'm okay also that all the big guys took a bastard back, they didn't show. Then I'm actually also grateful that we had white people that can pretend to act. That's not exactly, our biggest whatever in Nollywood. We're actually not good at that, but this is okay. So this is not altogether bad. It is just altogether questionable, but still okay. That's it for me.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Mrs. C?
So I wanted to like this because I wanted to like this for, and again I did give it props for not using one of the big three languages, backdrops, ethnicities, location, and I recommended it to my mom because my mom's a Joe. I'm like, hey, you might like this, and I recommended this like 5 minutes in, by the way, and my mom messages me like a couple hours later going, I did not like that. So I don't know who has, someone got thumbs up at home for recommending it. I got a thumbs down at home for recommending it. So yeah, again, I'm glad that there are people who have enjoyed this and liked it, and I'm glad that Nollywood Film Club has not been back-to-back torture for a lot of you. That always brings joy to my cold heart. But yeah, this, I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. It was, yeah, I couldn't connect to the characters. I couldn't feel for them. I didn't understand Igor. So I didn't understand the villain. I didn't understand the characters. I didn't feel for the characters. And so it just ended up being quite a meh use of a few hours of my time. But yeah, that is it for me. But for me, I will say, if you want to see something that's not, in English fully and in the big three and something that seems a bit different, then yeah, this is for you.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't think this film is good. But I think I might come to that Igor's scene where he dies. I think that's actually one of the most entertaining. If this film had been just that scene, but like replicated from beginning to the end, this would have surpassed Namaste Wahala as one of as a masterpiece in terms of like unironically bad and but funny or unironically funny movies. But like too many of the things about it just weren't good for me. I couldn't connect with any of the characters because to me there aren't any. The acting is good, and I do like that a bunch of young people have are probably going to get some recognition from this. That's actually something I always like, even from like the Madame Koi Koi series. Like I do like when they get this big Netflix originals or big releases because like I think variety is good. However, in saying that, the filmmaking of this is way too cheesy and unintentionally funny for me to think this is good. So yeah, if you want to watch it, that's like you can say go ahead. I can't say I understand people who unironically like this. I can't.
I can't understand.
Pearl says she does. I don't understand. I can't. But that's why we're here. We come here to understand that there's some of us who don't always have it together. So, but no.
First of all, Mr. C, do you not enjoy
Let's
our
bring back
newfound
Devil in
peace?
Nevada.
You don't like our newfound peace.
Let's
Okay.
bring back Devil in Nevada.
All right. Okay.
So, again,
So
people in glass houses don't throw stones.
seems like some people got triggered. All right. Okay. Fair enough. I did do that. Okay. But next week on Nollywood Film Club, what, Mrs. C?
I wanted to just say one thing. I wanted to say that I think a lot of you people are judging this film based on glamour girls, and y'all are being hella disrespectful to Living in Bondage.
Oh yeah, the amount of people who have said living in
so disrespectful.
The amount of people who said this is Play's best
work. Like,
Guys, living in bondage
Living in
is a
Bondage was
distant
amazing. What are
memory.
you talking about?
Wait.
It is
Why
a
did you just
distant memory.
go and rewatch. Go and rewatch because it's glamour girls y'all are remembering from Play. That's
Living
why.
in Bondage was not good, and I don't remember Glamour Girls. I just remember they all turned into something about.
Living in Bondage was better than this. Living in Bondage was better than this.
Okay, that's a different space. All right, but next week on Nollywood Film Club, we're doing our last space of the year. And before we go on a break, we will be discussing Breath of Life. It's Prime original. The actual first, what they call it when they give them the it's Prime's money. They didn't buy it too. They didn't buy it. It's not one that they bought. This is the commissioned first Prime commissioned one. Thank you. English language is hard sometimes. But yes, so and I think honestly, I think we saw the filmmakers are the people behind God Calling. I didn't love the subject matter of that, and maybe it's not for me. But I did admire a lot of the filmmaking in that. Actually, I think it's one of the things I liked. So I'm actually looking forward to this. And if anything, I didn't expect us to end with something like awful for the year. So looking forward to that and hope we see you and the Breath of Life space next week. 6 p.m. What? What? All right, okay. We didn't plan that, just in case you guys think I mean, we're losers, but not for that reason. All right, okay. We will see you next. We'll see you next week, and thanks for coming on, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at Iroko Critic and join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.